is News Talk.
And you're very welcome along to OTB Football Saturday on News Talk here. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. John Duggan with you until the end of the show, the end of the era really today, in the company of the Irish Independent football correspondent Daniel McDonnell and journalist Johnny Ward, and Damien Delaney as well, the former Republic of Ireland and Crystal Palace defender. He's joining us as well. Lads, I kind of got into the mood for the show today by listening to Nirvana's Nevermind this morning. I smashed it through my house, remembering my...
Smashed it through your house?
Yeah, remembering my teenage angst. What were your teenage, were you grunge guys, or were you too young for that, or were you Ice-T, Ice Cube?
I was very strange. I didn't really listen to music properly until I...
that was a surprise.
Actually,
so Damien's trying to get something in.
Damien, you can come in here, I think.
Damien, welcome to Off the Ball Football Saturday.
Welcome. And just Johnny opened with I was very strange, and I went, no, not surprised.
There was a bit of a... I like the fact there was a bit of past tense with that, Damien, wasn't there? Like, I was very strange.
Teenage angst is fine. It's middle-age angst that's a problem.
So what's the music of choice now, Johnny?
Be very varied, actually.
Where were you last night, John?
I was at the National Concert Hall.
You were at the National Concert Hall?
Yeah, something different.
So what were you seeing at the National Concert Hall? And I'm not slagging because, like, it's just...
No, that was for...
it was a slight surprise.
That was just for my girlfriend's mother to get her out of the house. Just it was a gift. 4 of us went along.
And what was it?
It was classical music.
And who was...
Dvorak.
What was your review?
Sell it to us, Johnny, come on.
It was very good. Having a few pints and toners beforehand probably wasn't ideal, but they were very nice. But no, it was lovely. It's National Concert Hall. It's actually, people don't appreciate, there's so much music there. When you think the National Concert Hall, you think like classical music, but they've loads of gigs on there that it's a brilliant place to watch music. Amazing sound, amazing the acoustics in it, and it also makes you feel like you're actually somebody who might be cultured even if you're not.
Yeah, there was certainly a bang of cultured off Johnny's post last night.
Well, next weekend I'll get League of Ireland match.
He just drops into conversation. He was heading off to the National Concert Hall. I don't know.
After betting on Dundalk and toners.
Yeah. Well, that's
Were you a music man, Dan?
Sort of. I mean, I was born in 1982. So were you, Johnny, as well, weren't you? And Damien's probably around a similar age. So I would have been like teenage years, would have been in the Oasis Blur sort of
great pop battle.
The slightly more, and then you'd have your Radiohead for the slightly more someone who wasn't quite into that, but not really, like not massive.
We were big Luke Kelly fans in our house, so that was my Luke Kelly and Paddy Riley. Still see Paddy actually at the races, but he would have been an absolute icon to my family, and Luke Kelly was basically all our family thought of him as a kind of a cult hero when we were younger, so we've all the Luke Kelly albums or whatever, and probably still the best voice I've ever heard.
Yeah. I was never really into the whole Nirvana buzz now, John, but that was your bag.
I was just on the cusp of it. I was 12, 13 when it started, so it was just before the Irish college years where everybody kind of dressed in a kind of a baggy way and had those kind of smiley t-shirts. Just kind of missed it, and I was also doing 14, 15 kind of pirate radio DJing in my friend's shed. But it was much more pop, like John Cicada, Tori Amos, so Tasman Archer. All these songs are...
pirate station called?
Coast FM.
Coast FM.
So these things happen somewhere to get you to News Talk on a Saturday afternoon, 18, 19 years later.
Do you know what the mad thing was on those days? When something came on the radio, like there was no Shazam or anything like that. So you could hear a song, and I remember hearing like Wicked Game by Chris Isaak, for example. And I remember hearing it for the first time, and I couldn't get it out of my head, but I had no idea what the song was. And I wouldn't hear it again for another year or two. And I was like, and the second time the song came on, when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's the song that I've been waiting to hear. But in those days, like, you heard a good song.
When did you see the video for that song?
Can't argue with that video.
Weren't a teenager at that stage?
No.
Damien Delaney, you were a Ramones man, but just before we get to the football, you were a Ramones man.
Yeah, I am a Ramones man. Yeah, I like Ramones, Clash, Sex Pistols. I was only actually listed to Nevermind the Bollocks, and that is not a swear word. So that was the name of the album.
What was your man that played for the Dutch? He had a very similar name to that. Was it
Stan Vallox?
That's right. Yeah.
Dole a straw, Damien. Spurs and Watford. Is the Jose Mourinho thing? It's getting quite frustrating for Spurs fans right now.
Yeah, it's difficult. He's kind of inherited a squad that he was, Pochettino was probably similar results, maybe probably been a little bit better, and maybe people were expecting Jose to come in and to improve it immediately, and he hasn't. So I think I can imagine Spurs fans being a little bit disappointed, but they've lost Harry Kane, which is a huge loss for them. But I still think they should be beating teams like Watford, Watford away easily with the squad Tottenham have. So maybe next year, maybe this transfer window or the next transfer window, maybe next season, you might see more of a Jose Mourinho type squad.
Gazzaniga saved a Deeney penalty and Spurs had an effort cleared off the line. Lads, Jetson Fernandez, is that inspiring confidence if you're a Spurs fan getting something like that in?
I'll leave that one to Dan.
I'm not, I don't know. I mean, the whole Mourinho thing sort of leaves me a bit cold. It does seem like you would have expected a bit of the bounce to last for longer. Generally, from a Spurs perspective. Now, I have to admit, I was more interested in watching QPR and Leeds today.
Leeds lost 1-0.
So Conor Masterton was making his first league start. So it was much more interesting to me than the Spurs thing, to be honest. Already, it's just like. I just thought that, in fairness, I still think Mourinho won't be there in 2 years, no chance. But I thought that there might be a prolonged sort of honeymoon period, and you'd be sort of a small bit alarmed that it might have gone a bit stale already. Now it is.
That's
fairness,
the thing as well.
Yeah, and as Damien alluded to, he can bring in some players that might be more in keeping. He hasn't had a transfer window yet, really. This is his chance. So we'll see. He'll bring in some players, but they still haven't really addressed the problem of the players who are out of contract in the summer who may be moving on. So you have speculation around certain big players, like someone like Eriksen or whatever. It's actually quite hard to really see a pattern developing until, and as Damien mentioned, the Harry Kane injury now adds another element to it. So do you end up panic buying in this window because of that? They've brought in a player already, but from is it Piontek?
Piontek from AC Milan, yeah.
So does that sort of skew the strategy in terms of developing any pattern? But I don't know. It's just, as I sort of agree. I know Watford have improved and they're a better side now than they were a couple of months ago. But you would think if a team is going to make a really impressive Champions League type charge, that's the kind of game that they move through, quite sort of in a smooth way. So. Yeah, we'll see what changes new players can make to it in some way, but I don't know. Overall, I think it'd be hard to be overly positive.
It is interesting about the honeymoon period as well. That he promised kind of that there was this kind of notion that he changed a bit. He was he had a bit more of a positive stance. He was maybe going to give young players more of a chance and so forth. And it all kind of rings a bit hollow. It just seems to be the old Jose in terms of his kind of media performances the last while, and worrying times for Troy Parrott as well.
Well, just on that, Johnny. It would appear Spurs fans becoming just as frustrated as Irish fans with Jose's lack of trust in Troy Parrott, as Charlie Eccleshare of The Athletics explained to Nathan Murphy this week.
No, the view amongst the sort of Tottenham fan base, certainly in social media, is similar to what you've described in Ireland. And I did feel a little bit like I was telling kids that Santa Claus wasn't real when I tweeted Mourinho's quote saying that Parrott probably wouldn't get a huge amount of game time because there is this massive clamour for him to play. I think realistically he's not going to play a huge amount this season. As you say, Mourinho was pretty explicit and said, he's 17. Let's give this guy time. He's a baby in footballing terms. His chances would increase if there aren't, if no one comes in. But I think he would only play if they suffered some more injuries. Because yesterday's quite a good example in that there was kind of an outcry that he wasn't on the bench against Middlesbrough for an FA Cup game, which I totally understand. But then when you see that the two attacking subs for Mourinho are Son and Ali, it's kind of like, okay, that gives you some idea of sort of the pecking order, certainly in Mourinho's eyes. So I'd love to see Parrott play. I think, it's always so exciting having those young players, but we might need to just be a little bit patient on that one. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Cut him off now.
53106 for your text. We got one in here. John, like yourself, I'm a Spurs fan. Jose's had enough games now to show us if he's still the special one. The lad is gone. His good days are behind him. That's from Usheen in Kilkee. Damien, if you're Troy Parrott, what should you be doing now?
Nothing. Just keep training and getting better. I mean, I hate to be kind of like the bearer of be negative about it, but he's not done anything in football. He scored some UEFA Youth League goals and he's done well at underage international. I mean, there's Irish young players playing in the Premier League who, are getting on with their business. Troy Parrott hasn't played. He might be a good player. He might not be. But remember also that Pochettino said before he left that, Troy Parrott won't play for 2 years. So you can't just label all this on Mourinho not playing kids. Because in fairness to Jose, he has given some kids, the young right back. There's one or two others. They see him every day in training. They watch him. They monitor him. And they don't feel he's ready to step up to first team football in the Premier League. So obviously the logical next step is, do you get him out on loan? And they obviously see him and they think it's more beneficial for him now to be training with the first team for a full season and to be on the fringes and play under 23s games or play the UEFA Youth League. That's where they see it for him. So you just have to trust in Tottenham. If Jose was going to play him, I promise you, he would have to be lifting every day in training to the point where you're watching him in training going, you have to play him. Because he's competing massively.
And he played Tanganga, so it's not like he's afraid to play anybody.
He is playing, and I guarantee you that kid proved in training and proved in 11v11s behind closed doors that he was more than capable of stepping up to the first team. So, we're on the outside looking in, and it's very, very difficult to gauge his progress, gauge where he's at. But I know myself from watching young lads that kind of come over to the first team from the under-23s, to get the consistency every day in training, because that's where it starts, consistently training well, dominating training sessions, and being at a level where players are going, he's ready. Now, if he's ready to play first-team football and he's not going to get in Spurs' first team, then the next step is go on loan. But they've already said he's not going out on loan. And you have to be a little bit careful with him as well, because if it's 17, you send him out on loan to the Championship. And he has a really tough time of it, which is very, very possible at 17 years of age, going into the Championship. They obviously don't feel he's ready. So just throwing him out on loan to see what happens isn't fair on him either. Jose and before him, Pochettino said the exact same thing. Just let the kid train with the first team for a year, probably 2 years, and he'll develop. And at 19 then, if he's still playing at the same level and he's still showing the same consistency, he'll play for Spurs. There was a young boy, Latvian boy, is that right, Dan, who was born in Dublin?
Dennis Shurkin. I'm not sure if he's Latvian born, but I think
it's Latvian or Lithuanian or possibly something like that. So he is giving young lads a chance, but he just doesn't feel like Troy Parrott is ready yet. So I think the only problem now comes from Irish people and Irish media putting pressure. Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Just let the kid breathe. He's obviously not ready, so just let him find his own little way, and if he's good enough, he'll come through.
Well, he's obviously not ready, but he's obviously not ready for Jose. Other managers would be thinking of the longer term. Jose doesn't really think like that. Parrott turns 18 next month, and then his contractual situation will obviously change, because he will be trying to negotiate
a new contract.
Once he turns 18, he'll obviously then it changes in terms of the age, and he can get his new contract. But he will be in a good bargaining position.
It doesn't change dramatically really at 18, but
I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. I know what Damien's saying, but other managers would be giving him something of a chance at this stage.
Well, maybe not at Spurs, though. Maybe not at Spurs. I think he is at Spurs. I don't think
for example, in the Cup, they'd be definitely against Middlesbrough. They would have him in the squad.
But it's more important now for Spurs to do well in the Cup.
That's the thing. I'm not really blaming Jose. I think he doesn't have that much time to get the season sorted, and he came into a situation where they were struggling in the table. So his future is the next game and getting into the top four or whatever they're going to achieve this season as unlikely as that.
I think certain other managers might be more open to experimentation, but we don't know if that would have happened in the case of Parrott. I think we were on previously, and Jose had intimated he would play against Bayern Munich, and then of course he didn't. And he's spoken about him a couple of times, and I do think the presenting of the ball to him after the match was more of a stunt than anything really.
Was that genuine?
I think it's a stunt. I think because he plays the media, he plays the message. He manages the message.
At that time, then people were adamant he was going to play against Munich, and then 4 days later he didn't play. He had alluded to it, and people bought it. So, but I do sort of the basic point is he's only turning 18 next month. The only slight concern, and I've heard Keith Andrews speak about it, and even Stephen Kenny, he's so close to the first team with Spurs that he's not playing any football at all, really, which is a slight concern. He hasn't played, I think.
He's in that kind of limbo between.
He hasn't played
in the purgatory of football.
Yeah, so he hasn't played for the 23s in a couple of months. And it's funny, I mentioned Conor Masterson there. So Conor Masterson made his first league start today as a professional footballer. Conor Masterson was almost like the Troy Parrott of his generation in the sense that, and he's only a couple of years younger.
How did he do?
Like he did okay, but I'm just saying he's 21 and that was his first league start. And they won the game. QPR fans are raving about him. Actually, in the first half, he had a couple of moments that showed he hadn't he did. Bamford spinned him on one occasion, another swipe. But you cannot be harsh on him. It's his first league game and he's 21. The only slight concern is that Parrott ends up spending so much time close to playing at a really top club that he just doesn't get enough experience at all. But that's more of a concern at 19. At 17, it's fine. He turns 18 next month. If this time, even this time 12 months, if he's only played a handful of cup games and he's not playing that much with the 23s because he's so close to the senior team and so on, there is that slight concern that he'll be overtaken by the more sort of battle-hardened player. And Damien mentions the likes of Adam Ida you know, well, he was alluded, maybe didn't mention him by name, but the likes of Ida or, you know, Obafemi or Aaron Connolly, who are playing more football. They're playing more football because also they're at lesser clubs as well. And I've no doubt if Parrott was at one of those clubs, he'd probably get more minutes. But this is the trade-off for having someone at a top 6 club that we're so excited by. They're not going to get the same amount of game time as an Adam Ida or someone that plays for Norwich. That's just the way it is. So, like, it's not ideal, but I always did say that when Jose went there that I didn't believe Jose would be there for that long. So Parrott really just needs to sit tight, not have this big drama and stress over not playing.
70.
There's probably a bit of brinkmanship going on with the contract. That would be in Jose's sort of repertoire as well too. But you know, he can sit tight, get a nice contract signed, and he can be sure by the time that contract is reaching its culmination, Jose won't be there anyway. So he'll be okay.
53106 for your text. I think we all need to chill the beans with Parrott. He's 17. If he was 19 and not playing, I'd be worried, but let's be patient. That's from Liam and Limerick. Damien Manning on YouTube, on our social channels. Jose 2, as in the second iteration, like Microsoft, does not exist. And hi guys, when Damien Delaney appears, please inform him that he's still a Palace legend. That's from Martin in Gerteen, County Sligo. Nice message from Martin today. But to me, guys, this weekend is all about tomorrow. Liverpool and Manchester United. I call them the biggest 2 supporter clubs in the country. Whether that's right or not remains to be seen. But regarding it, I think they are. But whether they should be with the League of Ireland and everything. But Damien, is this the best Liverpool team ever? Is that complete hyperbole to say that? Is it complete exaggeration?
It's very, very difficult to compare generations and past teams. I'd always be very, very slow to do that because it's kind of, you know, you can pick holes in every argument, but right now, they're the best team in world football. I think that is without a doubt. He has them playing to a level consistently that I've never seen before. I mean, I know Manchester City won the league with possibly 101 points, I think, a few years ago. So, but I think this Liverpool team are absolutely relentless. I mean, the signing as well as Minamino in January is a fantastic signing. Fits the mould, fits what they're doing. Will inject the squad in a little bit of confidence, seeing some fresh blood. If they do have an injury, they have some fresh legs to come in there. And I think with them challenging for a treble, I wouldn't put it beyond them.
There's a profile of Michael Edwards in the Irish Independent today, Vincent Hogan writing that, Damien. Really fascinating stuff about the recruitment, like how they identify players. And he seems to have done an exceptional job there, the sporting director. We don't seem to see that at United.
Yeah, well, I would point to 2 cases that I am familiar with in that he managed to flog Crystal Palace, Christian Benteke and Mamadou Sakho for 27 and 26 million. Dom Solanke to Bournemouth for 30 million. And how he managed to convince Crystal Palace that those players were worth the value of what Liverpool paid for them after they'd done nothing for a year and weren't really involved is just fantastic management from him. And that's why their net spend is so strong that, you know, Christian Benteke, I think, was 27 and Mamadou Sakho was 26.
I say they weren't good value, Damien?
I think, no, they were massively overpriced. I'm not saying they're bad players, but I just think that was a huge... I mean, they're both very, very good players, but, you know, they both had their problems at Liverpool. They weren't involved, yet they managed to sell them for the same price that they bought them for.
There's something more special about it as well when you can put together a team that isn't just bought, like effectively just lashing money at it. Like when
Randy Robertson
was what, 8 million, 7 or 8 million. When Eric Cantona was signed from Leeds, obviously you go back to how important he was for.
It's almost the inverse, isn't it?
Like, what was he, 1.1 million? And just the fact that, you know, they sold Coutinho for huge money. Klopp has put together a team within financial sort of fair play in the sense that they haven't absolutely lashed money at it. Funny enough, like they've the one game this season in the league that they didn't win, which is absolutely incredible because they've had a fair few fairly close games.
They've scored in every game.
They've scored in every game. They've gotten a lot of late goals. Was that Man United game at Old Trafford?
Is that because it's a derby, though? Is that the derby element? Does the derby element exist?
Derby maybe not so much, but it's still a huge game historically. At the moment, Man United are so far off that it's like, well, it's kind of another game for Liverpool, but it won't feel like that to the fans. But Man United are actually quite well set up to give Liverpool problems because they can be very good in the counter-attack. I'm just not sure they'll be capable of showing it tomorrow with the players that they've out. But to think that this Liverpool team, I mean, if you look at Liverpool in Europe, you wouldn't be like that excited about them. The 2 Napoli games, they were pretty poor.
I think Champions League group form, though, is a dangerous...
Oh, no, it is, but I'm saying... But then you look at the league table today and you're like, they've dropped 2 points. And Damien's word is relentless. That's what they are, and they've developed this belief that they're going to win. And I think it all shines through from basically... Alisson and Van Dijk, they just give so much calmness to everyone around them that Liverpool just think we'll always be okay because, you know, their midfield is fairly functional. It's a workman-like midfield that works its ass off. They're not really necessarily amazing footballers, but this team, it just believes, and the Champions League for me is going to be telling this year because I think they're probably not quite as good as the table suggests, which, you know, might sound a bit daft, but they've dropped 2 points, which is absolutely
been a poor
incredible.
league. The rest of the league has been poor.
I mean, you look
City
at,
are only getting
Leicester shouldn't be second for much of the league. I mean, that's kind of like Leicester are an okay team. They're a decent team.
They're a Europa League cusp of the Champions League.
They shouldn't be pushing for second place. Man City have dropped off for whatever reason. Some of their players are getting older. Silva's getting older. Their work rate isn't what it was. Their pressing isn't what it was. They even had games this season where they didn't have most of the ball, which showed where they were at. Man United have been miles off it. Spurs have been miles off it. Arsenal have been rubbish for much of the campaign. So I think like Liverpool are still 4-1, 9-2 to win the Champions League. I'm not even sure they're favourites. I think City might be
City are favourites.
So they're probably not quite as good as the table makes them look, but at the same time you have to you have to just give it to them. Their record is amazing.
We've got a goal at St Mary's, Southampton against Wolves. Alan Lewis.
It's Southampton 1, Wolves 0. The home side have got their noses in front. It came from a free kick from the right-hand side. The ball bobbled and bounced its way across the 18-yard box, and there was centre-back Jan Bednarak to finish tidily, actually, with his right boot. This coming just after Adama Traore had a shot from just outside the box that was deflected wide for a corner. Hadn't been the greatest start up until then, but it's Southampton 1, Wolves 0.
53106 for your texts. God help United tomorrow. I'll take a 6-1 defeat at Old Trafford over hammering to that lot. There's been positives for United this year, but I'm sad to say this Liverpool team are streets ahead at the moment from Kenneth in Blackrock. Liverpool have got an easy 3-0 win, John. In the words of Eamon Dunphy, the good days are back, baby. What United players do the lads think will get in the Liverpool team? That's from Lisa. I'm a Cork man. I love my hurling, but give me Tipperary winning Liam over Liverpool winning the league any day. That's from Podge in Cork City. And I heard Liverpool have physicists and top mathematicians from pre-eminent universities to analyse football statistics. Is that true? That is from Shane in Cork. Have they got all these numbers, people, Daniel, and have got are United players good enough to get in that Liverpool team?
That's a good question. Like, because Pogba, talent-wise, clearly is. But
Rashford.
Rashford, yeah. Rashford on his game, but Pogba wouldn't. I don't think Klopp would go near Pogba, but he's talent-wise, he would be more than good enough to get in the team. I don't know, maybe a handful.
You're struggling to think of like guys who would march into the side, and no, like there's no doubt they've got the off the pitch operation in good nick, and like you keep hearing anecdotal tales about it. And I mean, Michael Edwards is very clearly laid out, and he mentioned Vincent's piece, and it's been laid out generally. Yeah, the overall operation there is better. Manchester United are still sort of, there was an antiquated system left over from the Fergie years that they haven't really gone about dismantling it in a very impressive way, and they're even losing out to Man City, I think, locally in terms of sort of, you know, where would you send for a club with an amazing academy reputation that actually Manchester City, wasn't there a number of the ex-Manchester United players were sending their kids to Man City, which was sort of damning in a way. So I mean, yeah, it's a massive game tomorrow, and then, like, of course, Liverpool Manchester United will always be a big game, but in a way, it's a bit like, you know, you used to be really excited about Arsenal Manchester United matches, and it reaches the stage where it doesn't have the same allure. Like tomorrow's game doesn't.
But is there more tribalism around Liverpool, Man United?
And that's why
even in Ireland, even with Irish people,
that's why it'll endure. Like that's why it'll always endure. It just, you know,
passed through generations.
You know, it does.
It's on at 4:30 is great as well.
But it does,
so many of these games
on off the ball.
Listen, I know it's on News Talk, and I know it's on off the ball, but as a game, it doesn't particularly excite me at the moment. I'd rather watch Liverpool Man City. You know, give me the option of that. I'd take 99 of those games over sort of one Liverpool Manchester United match. I don't know what it is. A lot of them have looked like they're going to be good games in recent years. They haven't always delivered. And I think it's because the dynamic at the moment is unusual, because you like, yes, there's a traditional rivalry, but you also want to have some kind of rivalry with managers and players. And there's actually such a gulf in distance. You know that Ole's not going to be around again in sort of 12, 18 months, maybe 6 months' time, that to really, you know, to attach some meaning to this game as part of a broader picture, it's hard. Manchester United fans would take huge joy if they could somehow strike a blow and, you know, impact the perfect record more than they have by actually registering a win. But it's just so hard to see it happening. that it just doesn't. It's very hard to see this being like a genuinely heavyweight, really high class, high quality Premier League game. And like I'd be happy to be proven wrong.
If they had their best players like they played against Man City, they definitely have. They have the talent on the break to give Liverpool trouble, but they don't have their best players tomorrow.
Liverpool are more rounded, I think, than City, and they're less likely to be as vulnerable.
They're not a one-trick pony.
City are vulnerable, and that's why it'd be surprising if they somehow fell short tomorrow. Liverpool. You think there is actually? I know what you're saying. Do derbies matter? We're talking about this bit during the week, like this whole line about form going out the window and derbies, and is it real?
Maybe less so in modern football.
Yeah, is it like over time? I think you know from watching horse or whatever. Like you can have a one-off, but form generally, will serve you well in the long run. And I think the form here is such that it's very hard to look at anything other than Liverpool just showing their quality.
Definitely as a kid, when I was a Liverpool fan as a kid, this game mattered more than anything. And there are a lot of people who've probably older than me now who feel the exact same as Irish Liverpool or Man United fans. This was the game that mattered above all, because the derby games weren't that important because you weren't from the city. Liverpool-Everton didn't really mean anything to me. Liverpool-Man United was everything, partly because Alex Ferguson made his point that Liverpool, who were the pre-eminent team at that time, he wanted to take them off their perch. He did. Liverpool haven't won the league in, 88? 1990 rather. So the fact that they're on the cusp of that now.
But that's why I think tomorrow is a really... I know they made the statement, and that's when Jose was showing the door at United, but I think to be on the cusp of now winning the league and to make a real statement tomorrow, I think for Liverpool fans,
it would be very, very sweet.
But I even think if Manchester United took something, it would be hollow. Like it's a small win. Like it's not striking a blow in any description. It would probably require a certain amount of fortune rather than it being representing any kind of turning point. This is my point. If Manchester United had, say, Pochettino who was starting off, and he struck a blow, you'd be thinking, okay, is this the start or something? But because what's there at the moment at Manchester United, that's not the future. It's very hard to sort of think that anything they do in these games really means anything in terms of the overall rivalry.
Because at the minute, Man United are a little bit rudderless. And Dan's right, if Man United win tomorrow, it's going to be a smash and grab. Like, they won't control any of this game for any sustained period of time. It's going to be a backs to the wall job, and they'll catch him on the counter or maybe get a penalty or something like that. But part of why this is a derby is just tradition, but right now it's not remotely close. There'll be no competition there tomorrow. I don't think it'll be. I think Man United are on a wing and a prayer to get a result out of the game tomorrow. And
Damien, without Rashford, Solskjaer was pretty doubtful about his participation. 14 goals in 22 games. Of the 36 they've scored in the Premier League, he scored 14. To me, he's head and shoulders above the rest of them. They don't seem to have much midfield. They could be just cut to ribbons.
Yeah, they could be, but I don't think it will, because they'll adopt a very defensive, tight kind of almost. I mean, and to see Manchester United do that is a little bit sad. That United are going to retreat into this 4-5-1 and rely on the counter attack and hope to get lucky, and that's almost like anti-Manchester United. I mean, I watched the Norwich game last week, and although they won 4-0, the first 20 minutes of the game, United were so lethargic, they were so slow, there was no energy about them, and that's almost the opposite of Manchester United. Before, Manchester United would come out the traps first 10 minutes in Old Trafford, and you'd feel like you'd absolutely been hit by a heavyweight boxer, and you couldn't catch your second breath. Whereas United now they don't seem to have any real direction. There's no real motivation about the team. They might play well, they might not play well, and that's kind of where they're at right now.
They badly need midfielders. Like McTominay obviously is a big loss, but they're
Matic in there.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Matic is so far off the pace at this stage. Like Matic I'm amazed that he's still playing at that level. He's miles off.
It's only one goal in the Premier League so far in the 3 o'clock kick-off. Southampton 1, Wolves 0. So goalless between Manchester City and Crystal Palace. Goalless in the game between Arsenal and Sheffield United. It's funny though, this whole Manchester United-Liverpool thing, when you're a small person, when you're a young person and you're watching Match of the Day and all that, and everything is... You're up for grabs. You're up for grabs as a fan. If you don't have a parent, my dad he was more of a horses, greyhounds man. He wasn't really into soccer. If you're a young lad, I got a Manchester United ball and it burst on this first day. So I knew that they weren't really the club for me. And then Liverpool, everybody in the same street was following them.
I think you might have been reading a little bit too much into the ball bursting. I mean, it might have been a structural issue with the ball rather than you.
Probably was.
Yeah. I wouldn't just diss Man United forever because of your ball bursting.
Well, it was
over ball burst, as they say.
And Liverpool, everybody in the street kind of supported Liverpool, so I didn't want to do that. And then I got roped into Tottenham, but there were so many people. I went to see Liverpool United probably about 18 months ago, goalless draw at Anfield. But it's funny, like the flights coming back, like they're just the flights back from Liverpool or
so many.
Manchester.
If you go to a Liverpool game, it's like half the people seem to be Irish. It's incredible, and it's almost like a Celtic city. But that game you referenced there, that was a horrible game. The way Man United approached the game, and tomorrow it's kind of hard to see it being much different. As Damien says, like even though Liverpool they're not necessarily a relentless possession team because they're more about getting the ball to their front three. Man United don't have the players to dominate possession either. So it could be quite grim for if Liverpool score early. I'd definitely fear for Man United.
53106 for your text. Liverpool have absolutely lashed money at it. Van Dijk, Fabinho, Alisson, Chamberlain, Salah and Mane were all bought for big money, but the net spend is only about 70 million.
Yeah, but I do think there is something in that, though. I think that there is a danger of, like, they've done good business, but it's not as if that they are, like, they're sort of punching above their weight in some romantic underdog story. Like, they've been smart in what they've done, and like so many clubs in the Premier League aren't smart. But Liverpool are still one of the big six. You know, they are. Like, Liverpool are part of that club. Like, they are part of that club that's trying to take some of the extra, overseas TV rights for themselves. They're part of the club who will be very happy to participate in, a Champions League expansion, whatever it might be. Like, there's a certain romance to Liverpool's story because the connection that definitely exists between management and players and team. But the club itself is just a super club like all the other ones. It's not any different, really, because it's been happy enough to row along with the other clubs on certain votes and things like that. So, I wouldn't be getting too overboard with the romance of the Liverpool story either.
We got to take a break here. 53106 OTB Football Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock with Damien Delaney, Daniel McDonnell and Johnny Ward. Are you going to Anfield tomorrow, Liverpool against Manchester United? Have you been before? Have you any memorable yarns for us? Any great stories of your trips over to the northwest of England? And what about classic matches? Remember any classic matches you've witnessed that you really enjoyed and that really kind of shaped your view as a football supporter? Back in a moment.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Duff and Heskey.
100 days of walking.
Can you believe it? We are nearly a quarter of our way to our goal. Thousands of you have been pounding the pavements every single day since January 1st. And on Saturday, January 25th, we are marking day 25 with a walk open to all in Galway. Join the movement as we come together and walk together next Saturday morning at 10:30, starting at Salt Hill Promenade opposite the Galway Bay Hotel.
100 days of walking on Lunchtime Live with Ciara Kelly on News Talk.
For full details and to register, go to newstalk.com/events.
Satisfying afternoons with Harvey Norman. First-time buyer? Wondering how to get everything done? Don't. Just sit back and watch your house become a home with Harvey Norman's delivery and install.
Go, Harvey, go! Tim should be spending his time networking, scaling up his business. Who knows, maybe even opening a second office. But instead, he spends his time switching off every light, heater and electrical device in the building, when he should just talk to Energia about our cash for kilowatt scheme. With grants of up to 30% for energy efficiency upgrades, it's the one-stop, hassle-free way for businesses to see their energy bills fall. Go to energia.ie/business to find out more. Energia, the power behind your savings. Terms and conditions apply.
Get stuck into the new year with the big 2020 save from Lidl. There's super savings in store and delicious recipes waiting for you online. Warm up those cold winter evenings with our 20-minute recipe for sticky beef stir-fry with ginger and soy. Made with our lean and succulent ready-to-wok Irish beef. Was €2.49, now €2. Delightfully sizzled and fry like one cow's spray, only $1.99. And don't forget, we check out our competitors' prices weekly. So when you check out, you always get better value. The big 2020 save from Lidl. More for you.
When you sign family members up with Vodafone Red Family, our multi-mobile package, you're guaranteed the convenience of one bill and monthly savings with a third plan free when you're signed up to 2 or more plans. However, we're afraid you're not guaranteed the jokes in the family group chat will improve, that video calls will start facing the right way. No, turn it around. Or that you'll get immediate replies to just checking in texts. But for guaranteed convenience, savings and flexibility, pop in store to get Vodafone Red Family for your whole family. Well, except the dog. Free plan offer based on adding Red Plus as a third plan. Contract depends on package chosen. Offer ends February 28th, 2020. See Vodafone.ie for full terms.
You might hear the word insolvency and think companies, but insolvency is just another term to describe serious financial problems for anyone. You could be insolvent if you can't pay your bills in full when they're due. You're paying a little off each bill trying to keep creditors at bay, or you've had calls and letters about missed repayments and threats of repossession. The Insolvency Service of Ireland, or ISI, has 4 debt solutions to help people with all levels of problem debt, from credit cards to mortgages. For more information, visit backontrack.ie or free text GET HELP to 50015. The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track.
There are many reasons to drive an SUV, and even more reasons to drive an Audi Q3, voted the best medium SUV in Ireland. And we're not surprised when it's more spacious, more stylish, and even more connected than ever before, making it built for all of life's journeys. Because whatever your journey, there's an Audi for it. Visit your local Audi dealer to test drive your Audi Q3 today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
How do you approach an uncertain future? With a resigned shrug, or alert and ambitious to the opportunities it offers? At PwC, we think beyond the predictable. We champion creativity and agility. In a time of constant change, visionaries look for partners to enable transformation, for collaborators who see beyond the horizon. PwC. Think beyond.
Love is patient. Love is kind.
Critics are calling Waves a cinematic wonder.
I know you're under a lot of pressure right now, but I'm just getting really scared.
It's incredible and a masterpiece.
Everything's gonna be okay, all right? We're in this together.
Look at you!
What you mean, look at me?
It's the most stylish, moving, and intimate piece of cinema in years. 5 stars.
But all we have is now. All we have is now.
Waves, in cinemas now. Certificate 15A.
The furniture sale is now on at Flanagan Kerins. There's discount on all stock. Yes, all stock, including beds, mattresses, sofas, tables, chairs, pianos, beanbags, rugs, half-price mirrors, pictures and lamps, gifts, and even special orders. You also get free delivery, free assembly, and free recycling of your replaced bed or mattress. Flanagan Kerins, Southern Cross Bray. Sale now on. Flanagan Kerins. Furniture for life.
In this week's Sunday Times, Sia Kolisi, South Africa's rugby captain, tells David Walsh how he escaped hunger and poverty to lead his country to Rugby World Cup glory. Don't miss this exclusive interview with a sporting icon. Pick up your copy of the Sunday Times this weekend or subscribe for €5 a month at thetimes.ie/join.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
And you're very welcome back to the football show here on Off the Ball on Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock at the company of Irish independent football correspondent Daniel McDonnell, journalist Johnny Ward, and the former Republic of Ireland and Crystal Palace defender Damien Delaney on Skype. Our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. Irish interest in the next goal at St Mary's, Southampton Wolves. Alan Lewis.
It's Southampton 2, Wolves 0, and just moments after Raul Jimenez missed a great chance to pull Wolves level, Southampton have doubled their advantage. Another cross from the right-hand side, this time at Cedric, and there was Shane Long who get in front of his man and direct the ball to the far post and into the net. Southampton 2, Wolves 0.
And we also have a goal at the London Stadium, West Ham against Everton. Joe Rawson.
West Ham 1, Everton 0. The hosts have finally made their pressure pay, and it's Issa Diop who has broken the deadlock. A free kick from the right-hand side that was swerved in by Robert Snodgrass. There was confusion as it was flicked on inside the Everton 6-yard box, and no one actually touched it. Issa Diop found the bottom right-hand corner. It could have been turned away by the defenders who were static. It found its way into the bottom right-hand corner. West Ham 1, Everton 0.
Major goal in the 3 o'clock kickoffs has come at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City against Crystal Palace. Darren Stanich.
Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 1 with their only attack and only shot so far in the game. Crystal Palace have the lead. It was a corner that was given, not cleared by City, headed across the goal, and there was Tosun to score his first goal for Crystal Palace. Man City 0, Palace 1.
And we got a goal at the Amex, Brighton against Aston Villa. Richard Newman.
Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Aston Villa 0. The goal has been coming, and it's come from Leandro Trossard after a decent attack from Brighton. Neil Maupay played in Trossard on the left, who drove a shot across Villa's new keeper Pepe Reina into the bottom corner, and it's Brighton 1, Aston Villa 0.
Damien, you must be thrilled to see Crystal Palace doing the business up in Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely delighted. You know, they've been doing really well this year. Especially Roy Hodgson deserves a special mention because I think he's got a net spend of minus 25 million or something like that since he's been there. So he hasn't been given any money to sign, but he's definitely kind of forged a team ethic and a mentality and a work rate. And also as well, James McCarthy, who's had a fantastic run of games and is actually doing really well today as well. So I'm absolutely delighted for him, and hopefully we see him back in the green shirt.
Have you seen much of him actually, Damo? Have you seen him?
I have, yeah. I've watched a lot of Palace this year, and I think he fits into what Roy Hodgson wants from his midfield players, and he looks fit for a guy who's been out of football for, well, I suppose the best part of 3 years really at Everton, or definitely 2 anyway. He looks really fit, he looks really hungry, and he looks like the James McCarthy of old. And I think he's come right at a great time for him, with Glenn Whelan maybe not playing football. Mick McCarthy will almost certainly be looking for a good defensive midfield player. And with James I think he must have played 10 games in a row now. He'll definitely be fit for the games coming up in March.
That's absolutely.
They're going to have a discussion though, I think, because there was still a slight strangeness around James McCarthy didn't really want to come in for the November game because he wanted to get his club career sorted at the time that he'd gone to Palace and barely hadn't played. And I think, Mick McCarthy, double McCarthy here, Mick McCarthy was sort of keen on him to come in, I think, for the November matches, while understanding previously it wasn't really appropriate. And I think, James said at the time he wanted to maybe stay at his club. And, there was a couple of comments from Mick McCarthy that suggested he wasn't madly impressed by it. Now, I think as sort of Damo alluded to there, Glenn Whelan's situation might force his hand, but Mick McCarthy is quite loyal, and I think he'd need to have a chat with James McCarthy just to sort of.
Is Mick McCarthy stubborn?
Yeah, he can be very. I think there's no doubt he can be. And I think he might just need to have a chat just to clear up. I'm not suggesting there was ill feeling, but just to see, are you fully committed and on board now? I think he would be conscious of the players that have served him reasonably well so far. But I think when someone is playing a Premier League level and has the potential to be a very good player, as we know from James McCarthy's back catalogue, he's just, as Damien mentioned, he's basically lost a couple of years of his career. They are the sort of lost years. I can't remember the last time he played 90 minutes for Ireland. I mean, you're nearly going back towards the Euros territory here. So it's been a long wait for this. But for a one-off, hopefully two one-off games, but for a one-off game initially, I'm still not sure if Mick McCarthy could bring in someone. It would be his first game for Mick McCarthy,
I'd say go Whelan.
What do you think, Damo?
Well, look, if Glenn Whelan isn't playing football, which, I'm pretty sure he'll pick something up, but you've James McCarthy, who's not just playing week in, week out in the Premier League, but he's playing well, and he looks fit, he's getting around the pitch, he's snapping into tackles like he always used to. He fits the profile of what Mick is looking for, and if Mick is so stubborn now, and I don't believe he would be, but if he's so stubborn now to kind of, shy away from James McCarthy and play Glenn Whelan, well, I mean, that's just cutting off your nose to spite your face, really. I couldn't see him doing it.
I would agree, Damo, but just the way Mick is. I mean, the only reason that Glenn Whelan has looked so good for Ireland, to my mind, is because our other midfielders have been so bad, basically. And it's an indictment.
He's done his job well.
He's done his job, but he shouldn't be playing for Ireland at this stage.
But I think the point is, I'd be interested, and it may well be something that happens. And I did think that he'd be the type of player that Mick McCarthy would like, but he hasn't played for him yet. And is he going to play him?
He's probably been proven right, though, because he wasn't playing regularly in kind of October, November. It's only December and January really that he's played. He's played every week, even the games over Christmas. He's put him, and I'm watching him here today. He looks fit. He looks full of energy. He looks like he's got a spring in his step, and he has that bounce, that he always has the way he runs. And he is snapping into tackles today, and he's having a fabulous game at the minute for Crystal Palace.
Sorry, Damien, we've got a goal at the Emirates. Arsenal against Sheffield United. Andrew Cheal.
Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 0. The goal from Martinelli, the young striker who's substituting for Aubameyang today, the suspended skipper. Saka, the young fullback, crossed from the left-hand side. His cross was really good to the far post, and Martinelli had the easiest of jobs, just to volley it in with his right foot. It's Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 0.
And we got a goal as well at the London Stadium. West Ham against Everton. This one from Joe Rawson.
It is West Ham United 1, Everton 1. West Ham's lead lasted for just 4 minutes. Everton's goal coming from a corner on the far side. Lucas Digne sent it into the penalty area. It was flicked on by Mason Holgate, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin reacted to head it past Darren Randolph. West Ham 1, Everton 1.
Damien, we're kind of maybe believe that James McCarthy cannot be ignored now by Mick McCarthy. Can Shane Long be ignored?
I wouldn't have thought so. No, he's back. Up to November to those games, he wasn't even involved with Southampton, so I could kind of see why Mick didn't pick him. But he's back involved, not just in squads. He's playing pretty regularly. He's getting minutes under his belt. He's back scoring goals again. I think you'd be crazy to overlook him now for the games coming up. He's just the type of player he needs. So it's good that Mick has options, and hopefully we'll be in good shape in March.
And Ralph Hasenhüttl was praising him before the match today, and he scored.
He's been raving. And Shane Long, as far as I know, is in the last year of his contract as well. And I was over in Southampton last year, sort of March sort of
it's
time.
like as a town, actually.
And Southampton, I was only passing through very briefly. It's grand. The stadium is soulless. It's a completely brand new.
Compared to the Dale, like.
It's a completely modern stadium.
The Dale, they were the days, like, you know, just it was such a small.
Like you were a season ticket holder.
Well, you know, obviously you think of those days when you were a Liverpool fan, you were a kid, but Matt Letizia playing the Dale, and this tiny little ground that the players were.
The nets were so small.
They were right on top,
I wonder was it just the camera angle that gave it a certain feel.
It looked very.
Like the Matt Letizia's greatest goals was on there in Sky over Christmas, and all of them are to that sort of backdrop.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of really low behind the goal. Like
Ken Moncow, Francis Benali.
I love the way he was a one club man as well.
Yeah. It's like there's a couple of goals away to Blackburn, and then Newcastle where he sort of chips it over the defender's head, and he's and they always seem to play on the Monday night as well. Southampton, they seem to be high up the list for the Monday nights. They obviously needed a few quid from the Sky TV revenue or whatever. But
Ronnie Rosenthal had a great game there for Spurs. I remember once.
Did he? But then of course Manchester United lost there, and they claimed they couldn't see each other in the grey shirts. But Shane Long at the time, he did speak about how he knew he was coming into the last year of his contract, and in fairness, it was kind of honest enough interview he gave. It was actually to the Southampton programme, was Shane Long doesn't really do much press, and he was saying, I know I'm under pressure because I know on my performances, like I'm not going to be getting a new contract. Shane Long is on a good deal as well. Shane Long is on good money from moving from Hull to Southampton, and as much as someone has earned very good money for their career, it's still only natural that no one in life wants to face a massive pay cut. And Shane Long, if he didn't have a good season this year, would be facing into a bit of a crossroads, a bit of a drop, and he's fallen out of the Ireland squad and his stock has been low. So he really couldn't be timing this any better in terms of just suddenly, providing a reminder that he's not done with.
Is it more straightforward than James McCarthy's situation with McCarthy, Shane Long getting back in?
I think it's more straightforward because you can always bring a striker into the squad and have him as an option and give him 15, 20 minutes if you're chasing the game and whatever it might be. Mick McCarthy said recently that he'd been in touch with Shane Long. Now, I could be reading far too much into the James McCarthy thing. I'm just saying that just for what we know of Mick McCarthy, that he always likes to say, well, I mean, don't forget the lads that have done well for me along the way. And
it's asking a lot of Whelan if he goes in there.
To bring in someone who hasn't been involved in the campaign at all to this point and putting him in to start a game, I would be surprised.
Is that more of a gamble than bringing in Whelan, who hasn't played? If he hasn't played, he's gone in cold for 3 or 4 months.
I do think, to be fair, Whelan will get a club, and come the 24th of March, he will have played 6-7 games. He joined Hearts very late in the day and then got games, and he played in September. So, but I'm not making the point of this is what I would do. I'm just saying you're analysing the behaviour of a manager over a period of time.
I think Mick will go
and I listened to him talking about, don't forget the guys that have done okay for me along the way. And I just would be a small bit surprised if he was to parachute in guys who didn't really play in the campaign at all.
If James McCarthy's playing week in, week out in the Premier League, and Glenn Whelan ends up in the Championship, and he's playing week in, week out, and James is playing to a really good level, you have to pick what's best for the team. I know you talk about loyalty and lads have done well for him, but Ireland still finished third in their group, so how well did fellas actually do? So, I mean, you'd have to play him. I mean, listen, if you're saying that he might not even bring him into the squad, I know he probably will, but
probably would, yeah.
Who do you play if Glenn Whelan isn't there? I mean, the only other option is Conor Horan, and he's already been proven that he can play as a number 6. Really, he's not defensive-minded enough to play as a number 6. Definitely not in a playoff game anyway. So
I think going forward, Damien, though, Stephen Kenny in particular won't be too worried about the midfield situation, because I think Horan is a player that he could definitely get a bit more out of. Horan is a lovely left foot. Obviously, if McCarthy can continue to play for Palace, but then when you look at Nice, Coventry, Malumbi, very promising players. Like, in fairness to Malumbi is playing at a decent Championship side, and by all accounts playing very well, and Glenn Whelan isn't doing that even at the moment either. So I certainly think, like you, Damien, would obviously be very hopeful about Stephen Kenny's reign, but I think midfield he will have plenty of options.
It's Ulster 7, Bath 7, by the way, in the European Champions Cup. Ulster need to win that game to guarantee their quarter-final spot. We've got the half-times coming in from the Premier League now. Darren Randolph back in the West Ham team against Everton today. How's it going in the first half? Joe Rawson.
Half-time, West Ham United 1, Everton 1. The hosts find themselves level despite dominating most of the game. They had a good start and forced Jordan Pickford into early saves and missed the target. Sebastian Haller involved in a couple of those opportunities, and they finally made their pressure pay on 40 minutes. A free kick from the right-hand side was sent into the penalty area. It was flicked on by Issa Diop and into the bottom right-hand corner. No one reacted to it, including Pickford in the Everton goal. But their lead lasted just 4 minutes. An Everton corner from over on that far side. A superb set piece whipped into the box by Lucas Dean. It was flicked on by Mason Holgate, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin reacted at the back post to head it past the returning Darren Randolph in the West Ham goal. Calvert-Lewin's 9th of the season. It means it's half-time. West Ham 1, Everton 1.
Now, the big shock on the cards up at the Etihad Stadium. Are the Eagles going to land? Manchester City against Crystal Palace. Darren Stanage.
Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 1. Shock on the cards here as Palace lead at the break, and it's a first goal for his new club for Seg Tossen, who was there to head home after City conceded a corner. Gary Cahill was first to it, headed across the face of goal, and Tossen headed home. That's been the only chance for Palace. 11 shots for City, total domination, but they find themselves behind here at the break. It's Man City 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Maybe Arsenal don't need Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They lead at half-time against Sheffield United. Andrew Cheal.
Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 0. The goal coming in first half stoppage time, made by and scored by an 18-year-old Saka, the young fullback, with a delightful cross to the far post, and Gabriel Martinelli with an easy right foot volley. United has started brightly. Mousset with 2 early headers over the bar. The visitors have comfortably matched Arsenal in midfield, but the Gunners have had the better chances. Twice Martinelli shot wide when he should have at least hit the target. Pepe and Torreira have also put 20-yarders straight at the goalkeeper. Half-time, Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 0.
That throbbing hangover from last week, the 6-1 defeat by Aston Villa that they suffered to Manchester City. The hangover's still there. They're away to Brighton. Richard Newman.
Half-time, Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Aston Villa 0. The hosts had the lead. Their dominance deserved at the break. Leandro Trossard with the goal on 38 minutes after a quick attack. Neil Maupay played in the Belgian, who fired across the goal of new Villa keeper Pepe Reina into the bottom corner. Aaron Connolly, Maupay and Aaron Moy all had chances before that, and Villa have rarely threatened but had a decent chance for an equaliser from a free kick late in the half. Anwel El Ghazi heading wide. But at the break in this game between two relegation threatened teams, it's Brighton 1, Aston Villa 0.
You may remember back in October that Southampton were thumped 9-0 by Leicester. Well, this is a new decade for Ralph Hasenhüttl, and they're on the way to another victory against Wolves. This one described by Alan Lewis.
Southampton 2, Wolves 0. Plenty to cheer about for the home fans. Jan Bednarek's right-footed finish put Southampton in front after just 15 minutes. Raul Jimenez then had a couple of really good chances to equalise before Shane Long doubled the advantage to net his first of the season and his first goal since April last year. The game's been pretty even, really. The only difference, Southampton have taken their chances. Wolves have squandered theirs. Southampton looking for their 4th win in a row. They're halfway there. It's Southampton 2, Wolves 0.
Certainly no cherry on the Bournemouth cake today. They're losing away to Norwich. This one, Mike Lawrence.
Norwich City 1, Bournemouth 0. Teemu Pukki's 10th goal of the season separates these two sides in the battle at the bottom. Pukki returning from injury, converting a penalty on the half hour after Bournemouth defender Steve Cook clearly handled a goal-bound shot by Norwich debutant Andre Duda. Quite blatant. Cook was red-carded by referee Paul Tierney. Harry Wilson immediately sacrificed by Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe, with Simon Francis on to try and shore up the defence. Half-time, Norwich City 1, Bournemouth 0.
Now let's look at the Sky Bet Championship. Leeds United had a chance to go top earlier today, but they lost 1-0 away to QPR. In the 3 o'clock matches, Birmingham City 1, Cardiff City 0. It's Bristol City 0, Barnsley 0. Also goalless between Derby County and Hull City. And also goalless between Huddersfield Town and Brentford. It's Millwall 0, Reading 0, Preston North End 1, Charlton Athletic 1, Sheffield Wednesday Wednesday 0, Blackburn Rovers 3, Swansea City 1, Wigan Athletic 1. Celtic kick off their Scottish Cup 4th round match away to Partick Thistle at 5:30. Leinster have won in the European Champions Cup 18-0 away to Benetton. They'll be top seeds. This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you to 5 o'clock this evening. 53106 for your texts for Damien, Delaney, Daniel McDonnell or Johnny Ward. I'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Urban living, great design, Scandinavian function and style, deeply rooted in timeless Danish tradition. Bow Concept, Beacon South Quarter, Sandyford. Sale now on.
See how good TV can be with the world's best-selling OLED brand. LG OLED TVs now come with a 5-year warranty for extra peace of mind. For more information and a full demonstration, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes, but for you and the community. For families, check out our kids' camps, sport academies and birthday parties. For adults, why not join our newly refurbished gym with a 50-metre swimming pool, or book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, sports pitches and courts. And for companies, check out our team building days, conference facilities and events. All this and more at sportirelandcampus.ie.
Are you paying a fortune to light your warehouse? You could be saving up to 70% on your bills by switching to energy-efficient LEDs, all at no upfront cost to your business. Visit ecilighting.ie to find out more.
Love every step, especially the little ones. Like that Friday evening feeling when you kick off your shoes, feel the cosy carpet under your feet and know the weekend is in front of you.
When I see the pup excitedly slipping across the hardwood floor, welcoming me as I come through the front door.
Every Saturday morning, when I hear the girls' giggles as they're sprawled on the living room carpet watching TV. TC Matthews, love every step. Winter sale now on, with free underlay on selected carpets. T's and C's apply. Visit one of our 11 showrooms today.
The NCT's looming again. It's your mum's birthday next Tuesday. The washing machine is definitely on its last legs. The thing is, there's always something. Which is why it's always worth talking to our mortgage team to see how switching your mortgage to Ulster Bank could help. Talk to us today. Oh, and don't forget your mum's birthday. Ulster Bank. Help for what matters. Over 18s and residential mortgages only. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Love is patient. Love is kind.
Critics are calling Waves a cinematic wonder.
I know you're under a lot of pressure right now, but I'm just getting really scared.
It's incredible and a masterpiece.
Everything's gonna be okay, all right? We're in this together.
Look at you!
What you mean, look at me?
It's the most stylish, moving, and intimate piece of cinema in years. 5 stars.
But all we have is now. All we have is now.
Waves, in cinemas now. Certificate 15A.
What could be more magical than a relaxing winter break with your loved ones in the 5-star luxury surroundings of Dromoland Castle, County Clare? Voted one of the top 10 resorts in the world by Condé Nast readers, our Castle Awaits package includes bed and breakfast plus 1 dinner for 2 nights in a Queen Anne classic room from just €295 per person sharing. Your Castle Awaits. Book your winter break now at dromoland.ie.
The election campaign has been dominated by 2 shocking moments: the gangland murder of a child and the life-changing injuries suffered by a homeless man living in a tent. Our top team of writers spell out the consequences for our politicians and for our society. In Living, John McColgan and Moya Doherty talk about love and marriage, Michael Flatley, RTE and cancer. And in Life, Dr. Eva Orsmond takes issue with body positivity and offers healthy living advice for every stage of life. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
Shh, tell nobody.
What?
Nissan. They're guaranteeing a minimum €3,000 scrappage for any old car traded in against a 100% electric Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, the big electric switch.
And if you decide electric's not for you, you can swap the Leaf for a brand new Nissan Qashqai at no extra cost.
It's all part of the offer.
Shh, everyone will be onto it.
Everyone is. It's on the radio. We're on the radio.
What?
Nissan's big electric switch. Visit nissan.ie to find out more. Nissan, innovation that excites. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you fed up with diets that only give you short-term results? Do you want to lose weight and keep it off for good? Is it time for a different approach to losing weight? Motivation Weight Management Clinic's scientific approach will help you to change your whole relationship with food so you can lose weight and maintain it for life. See motivation.ie to book your private one-to-one consultation. Motivation. It's not just what you eat, it's why.
Mattresses delivered anywhere in Ireland, absolutely free. Choose from a fantastic range. Mattresses Delivered is a wholly owned subsidiary of Bargaintown. That's mattresses-delivered. Don't forget the hyphen.
Start your story this January at Woodies with unmissable savings on all kitchens, 30% off. All Dulux and Fleetwood interior colour emulsion, 25% off. And all flat pack furniture and bar stools, now half price. Woodies, we're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Karen Tompkins. Gardaí continue to appeal for witnesses to a drive-by shooting in the village of 6 Mile Bridge in County Clare overnight. 2 men aged 21 and 66 were shot in the incident. They remain in hospital where their injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. No arrests have been made and Gardaí are appealing for any witnesses to come forward. Parish priest of 6 Mile Bridge, Father Harry Bowen, says people don't expect a crime like this to happen on their doorstep.
We hear of it elsewhere, but when it comes to your own doorstep, you don't know what to say. You're just stunned. But especially in such a fabulous community that we're all very proud of. It's terrible.
The Taoiseach's denying law and order has broken down following the recent spate of violence around the country. Leo Varadkar's comments follow the brutal killing and dismemberment of Cian Mulready Woods, the ongoing gang violence in the northeast, the stabbing of Cameron Blair in Cork and a shooting in County Clare overnight. The Taoiseach says Gardaí are being given the resources to deal with the issues.
Unfortunately, we're never going to be in a situation where there's never any murders or never any violence in our society, but we will have periods where there is a spate of violence. We've seen that certainly in the last week, but that doesn't mean that that law and order has broken down.
The Lord Mayor of Dublin says he'll let voters make up their own minds about the Taoiseach's request for a statement about a homeless man injured during works on the Grand Canal. Councillor Pat McAuliffe says it appeared Leo Varadkar was more interested in laying blame than dealing with the issue. But he says he doesn't want the incident to become a political football.
Other people have reacted to this, not me, and I think all of them have said that the Taoiseach did it in a way that was targeted for political purposes.
And MPs vying to succeed Jeremy Corbyn as Britain's Labour leader have been taking part in their first hustings. They've been fielding questions from party members in Liverpool. Jess Phillips says Boris Johnson would be scared to face her because of her straight-talking, while the UK's shadow Brexit secretary, Sir Keir Starmer, says the party must focus on more than just why they lost the election.
If all we do is win back our red wall seats, we're going to lose the next general election. If all we do is get back to where we were, we will lose. We need to win in Scotland, we need to win in Wales, we need to win in the southwest and the southeast.
That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
This afternoon will be cold, bright and mainly dry with sunny spells. There'll be some showers in northern coastal counties and highest temperatures of just 4 to 7 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
And you're very welcome back to the football show on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock in the company of Irish Independent football correspondent Daniel McDonnell, journalist Johnny Ward and the former Republic of Ireland and Crystal Palace defender Damien Delaney on Skype. 53106 for your texts, a lot of them, especially with Liverpool playing Manchester United tomorrow, 4:30 at Anfield. On News Talk Live, Nathan Murphy and David Myler on Off the Ball describing the showdown between two great clubs. For me, this Liverpool team could go down as the greatest Premier League team of all time yet. If we were to pick our greatest Premier League team of all time, I think Virgil van Dijk would be the only player we consider. That's from Shawnee and Tralee, so maybe he means there that it could be the best ever Liverpool team we've seen. A sad time, the United fans are hoping to beat Liverpool to stop them winning the league. 43 years supporting the Red Devils, and this period has been the most depressing on the back of all the successful times that Ferguson brought. That's from Kelvin. Give me Rashford, Martial and Greenwood over Salah, Mane and Firmino from Cahill and Ennis. Not so sure about that one, Cahill. Liverpool have been phenomenal this year. To say that everyone else in the league is poor is just nonsense. Dropped 2 points this season so far. They deserve way more praise than they're getting from Dermot and Tipperary.
I think they're getting a lot of praise.
Lads, get off the Liverpool bandwagon. Just to contradict
the other extremes of things here, yeah.
They haven't won the Premier League in over 2 decades. You're so anti-United, it's embarrassing. That's from Sean. I think we're just stating the facts, Sean.
Yeah, as someone once said, the most offensive thing you can do is print the results. You know, in the league table is the most insulting thing for Manchester United at the moment. I think to be considered any kind of greatest team of all time, this is my view, in any league, any level, I think you have to retain a league. So they still haven't won one, and they are obviously going to win this one. But to be sort of mentioned as like the greatest Premier League of all time, I think you need to have multiple leagues, to be honest, in my book. I know you can have exceptional seasons and exceptional runs, but I think really to go into that discussion, you know, there needs to be sort of a back-to-back element. But I mean, you wouldn't it looks like they could be on the way there. I'm just saying, I think you almost need that sort of, that run of achievement to really join that debate, in my view. You need a sort of a dynasty as opposed to like this amazing season. I know they won the Champions League last year, so they're in the midst of one, but I think it needs to be, you know, a body of success. You think of like Ferguson's Manchester United and Wenger's Arsenal, you don't think of one season. Well, I don't anyway. I think you think of more collective body of work. So I think
if they won the Champions League this season, in addition to winning it last year and winning the league in between, that's pretty good.
Like Mourinho's Chelsea, that won 2 in a row, were like a really good side as well. But again, the fact is they won 2 in a row.
They're well placed, so like because they have a bit of squad depth, and it's frightening to think who they might want to sign to improve, because I think anyone in the world would want to be playing for Liverpool at the moment.
Damien, this African Cup of Nations thing in a year's time, they're going to lose for maybe could even about 6 weeks. Salah, Keita, and Mane. Klopp has described it as a catastrophe. I don't think it's that bad.
I do. I agree completely. You know, yeah. I mean, I remember Alex Ferguson wouldn't sign or limited the amount of African players that he would sign because of the Cup of Nations, because it's such a vital time of year coming out the other side of Christmas. It's crucial. So, you know, maybe with the tournament a couple of years ago having been changed, managers might have been more open to bringing those players in. So for them to change it back now is going to cost Liverpool, I think, because you got 3-4 starters there, and 3-4 very important players are going to lose for 6 weeks, you know, potentially longer if one of the players make it to the final. So I think it's massive.
And Mane in particular is so important to that team. Just that extra, like the 3 front players they have are all quite different.
Player of the year, of course.
Yeah, I think he's much more important to them than Salah in many ways. I think, you know, Salah can kind of be in and out of games, but Mane just has that dynamism, and it's going to be a critical time for Liverpool, no doubt.
Robbie in Loughrea wants to know, Johnny, what your thoughts are on United selling Ashley Young.
He went for small money. I mean, what did he go for? 1 million or whatever.
To Inter Milan.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on there. I mean, in fairness to Man United, defensively isn't really their problem. I think they're fairly okay in terms of their back 5. Their issue is mainly midfield and what they're going to do with Pogba, the Pogba situation. But the young thing isn't going to make much difference, I think.
Damien, Darren Randolph going back to West Ham from Middlesbrough. I know Fabianski's injured, but when Fabianski comes back, is that going to knock Randolph out of the team? Is it a good move for him? What's your take on it?
I think it's a very good move for him. You know, he has the number 1 jersey now. I know that in the leading today, they were leading at half time. So
1-1 now, yeah.
1-1. So, I mean, you know, if he get a good result today, maybe David Moyes said it'd be a straight fight. But look, I think it was more about him getting out of Middlesbrough because they're, you know, maybe he was sold a dream up there and hasn't quite transpired. You know, with the owner there kind of not spending the money he should. Middlesbrough going like a youth route. So maybe he was promised a promotion in a couple of years, and that doesn't look likely. So maybe he had to get out. But with the lure of going back to the Premier League at 32 years of age, I don't think he could turn it down really. And I'm sure he will get minutes. Fabianski's been pretty brittle this year. He's missed a lot of games. So I think he will play. And if he does well, then I'm sure David Moyes would consider leaving him in the team.
We've got a goal at St Mary's, Southampton against Wolves with Alan Lewis.
Southampton 2, Wolves 1, and just like that, Wolves are right back in this game. Across from the right from Traore, it came to Neto. He managed to control it on his chest and fire home. VAR did have a look for a possible handball, but that was turned away. It's Southampton 2, Wolves 1.
And it is Ulster 7, Bath 7 in the European Champions Cup. Leinster won earlier 18-0 away to Benetton. Defi Desoy winning the Clarence House Chase. We had Milella Indo winning the big race, I think, at Navan, that promising chaser, and Bally Andy winning the Champion Hurdle Trial at Haydock. You guys are you guys like a bit of racing.
It's just a bit. Well, I mean, it's actually Johnny's. I mean, that's basically your job, right? I mean, this stuff is more, this is more of a sideline for you, Johnny, really, isn't it?
Well, it's all
as people might have noticed.
It's all a sideline, really. We were both commenting. We couldn't believe Defi Desoy didn't go off clear favourite because he beat him readily the last time. He's the younger horse. His performance was it the second last. He's jumped to second last. The race was just like it was. As Dan was saying, we were watching the race whilst obviously being very dutiful in the show today. It was during the ads, but Dan was saying, God, this is going to be a great race. And then at the second last, it was literally game over. It was like that. It was an extraordinarily good performance visually, and Undaso, obviously his legs are not getting any older, but it was a brilliant performance by the younger horse.
We'll have a test of loyalty in a couple of weeks, John, because it's going to be a Saturday at the Dublin Racing Festival.
Johnny, you'll be here.
Johnny be here?
Well, of course, Ireland and Scotland at the Viva Stadium. You know the it is. Yeah,
all your loves.
I'll be at the Dublin Racing Festival. Yeah.
We'll have to get a live link. We'll actually have two Skypes. We'll have Damien and we'll have Johnny. I'm probably on both. Just some. This kind of interesting story about heading the football. The Scottish FA looking at bringing in a ban at under 12s heading the football, following the University of Glasgow study and the links between heading the ball and dementia. Damien, you were a defender. This could radically change the game if this got spread to other leagues.
I think that once one football association does it, there'll be others follow suit very, very quickly. I know it's up to 12, 13 years of age. Heading the ball is such a huge part of football. Maybe it's getting less and less now when you look at the amount of teams that get into crossing positions and turn it down. They want to keep possession of the ball, but for centre backs and defenders, heading the ball is such a crucial part of it, and it's such an important skill that you learn at a very early age. So I don't know. I'd have to look at the data. The study that the university put out, does it really have much of an effect? I mean, it's not like the kind of headers that they'll be doing about learning technique and things would be somebody throwing the ball from 2 feet away and a young kid just kind of heading it back into your hands. So I don't know really whether it's a good or a bad thing.
Have you ever felt woozy from heading the ball on a regular basis, Damien?
Oh yeah, all the time. When someone has a shot from the edge of the box and it's coming straight at you and it hits you clean in the head, it would definitely kind of put you on your knees a little bit, and you have a couple of seconds just to gather yourself.
It would also be a mildly comical moment, though.
It happens all the time. Shots from close range, they hit you clean in the face. It does kind of stun you for a couple of seconds. So, but in terms of heading the ball, when I pick up the flight of a ball and go and head it, no, I've never had a kind of a felt woozy from that. It's just more from shots and stray arms and elbows and things.
The game has changed though, and the balls are considerably kind of.
Well, this is a lot back to Jeff Astle, because he scored in the 1968 FA Cup final. Jeff Astle, West Bromwich Albion, and he died about
Maybe be on Fantasy Football League with Skinner and Medina.
In fairness, that
passed away at an early age.
Yeah, that was a horrible case, and the way that football sort of treated him in terms of it was definitely something that you could look into. But there isn't as much heading in the game. Clearly, it's much more about the ball being on the ground now. The ball is lighter, so it does. To me, it seems a bit extreme because ultimately you're not really heading the ball very often in a game anyway nowadays.
I don't know. I mean, it's a delicate topic. I mean, there was research recently. I think actually might have been in Scotland.
University of Glasgow. Yeah, it's 3 times more likely
that
there would be cognitive issues.
Yeah,
but I do think a lot of that study was based around a period in the last century when I think the balls are much heavier. That kind of thing.
Lots more heading of the ball.
And there is a high instance. There was unfortunately, there was a number of instances of players who had suffered, I guess, conditions later in life that maybe the Jeff Astle case almost raised awareness and people thinking, well, that family member or that particular older player who was suddenly suffering from, be it dementia or similar conditions, that they are beginning to wonder And that's the thing. I think we are at the early stage of exploration here. And I think we mentioned it with Nathan during the week. There is an Irish company, Head Right Sports, Derek Collin, ex-Cork City player, and Mark Herrick as well, that are involved with. And they're looking at keeping heading in the game, but they have a device that just means that during the week in training, it would be a slightly, to practice your heading without necessarily having the number of impact and repetition that you would if you didn't have any sort of device there. So it's almost to reduce the volume of headers across a given week. And maybe that's the sensible sort of conclusion to this, in a way that, in America, they also have this ban at an underage level as well. And I do agree with what Damien says. I think it's probably going to become, it's not fad is the wrong word, but, the habit spreads and people think to be overly vigilant. But I think we're at the very early stage of discovering, really, does football have the issues here that maybe we've seen in American football and other sports? And I think there's obviously a generation of professional rugby players now that are probably sustaining hits that haven't been sustained at a previous generation. And over time, that is an area that's going to have to be explored more closely. So I think you just have to listen to the research without sort of overreacting to the research. And I think this is a trial that's worth trying, I guess, but I feel like we need more research to be fully aware of what we need to do. I don't think it's going to be taken out of the game. I don't think it would ever come to that. But I certainly think maybe at underage level, people are going to maybe, and again, it touched on it a bit during the week, maybe it does encourage people to learn different skills or play the game in a different way if they're younger, but it still is going to be very important to the skill of the game forever, because that's a fundamental change that I'm not sure if football is prepared to sort of take heading out of the game. It's not going to come to that, I don't think.
It's remarkable just watching the Man City game here, John, how far
1-0 down.
But they're really, so Silva's just gone off there, David Silva, who's obviously on the wane. It's kind of a little bit sad to see his decline, because what a player he was. But Man City, 62 minutes in, since Palace have scored, they haven't really been pressing. They haven't been putting pressure on them. Aguero's on the ball now in his own half. I know that the league is obviously beyond them, but they're still only 2 points ahead of Leicester going into today, and they really have declined considerably from their heights under Guardiola.
I don't know though. I still think when they turn it on, they can be pretty special. Like, and you see it in periods of games. But you've seen it against Villa. You see.
They've won 9 of their last 10 in all competitions.
Yeah,
they've scored 32 goals.
I think it's been exaggerated to a degree.
It's the inconsistencies, and it's the shocking inconsistencies. It's games that you don't expect them to struggle in.
You wouldn't trust them.
Like the Wolves game.
This is the game, ironically, that they did lose this game last year, didn't they?
But it was the only one they lost.
The intensity is gone though.
But it's not. No, there's actually stats. I heard during the week that actually the volume of their sort of pressing and their runs across these has been traced, and actually the drop off isn't that pronounced at all. So I think it's more a case that they just haven't, in certain games, they haven't delivered. But actually, in terms of running and stats and stuff like that, they're not actually massively behind where they were.
Because I remember Ken Early did a piece earlier in the year where that was exactly not what he said. He said like their stats had suggested that in terms of their pressing game has come down.
There's a point we made during the week, unless we completely take it up. But I'm just saying that when they, on their day, I still think they can be pretty good. But I think they're in a weird limbo where the league is gone for them. And I don't know how they motivate themselves to really see out the season. Sorry, Damien, you were trying to get in there.
Straight out of the Champions League.
The only thing they're lacking right now is a centre-back.
Yeah.
And obviously they'll company going and they haven't managed to replace. And
Laporte's back training.
But on top of having Fernandinho centre-back, who's not a natural centre-back, you miss him in the middle of the park. He is one that can press and bite and win the ball back as well. So you're kind of losing two positions really, because you haven't got a natural centre-back and you're losing him in the middle of the park. And I know Rodrigo's come in, but he's only his first year. It's going to take him a year to get up to speed. I agree, they've scored the most goals in the league, I think. So their attacking force, they're brilliant. It's just they're susceptible conceding goals against teams like Wolves, Palace, couple of other, Norwich have obviously got good results against them as well. So I just think they're a centre-back away from being, within 4 or 5 points of Liverpool and keeping the league competitive, as opposed to being 14 or 15 points adrift.
When they played Liverpool at Anfield, they were favourites, which is absolutely remarkable.
They're favourites for the Champions League, as you said. Like, you still think that when they turn it on, they can be pretty good. They've had a bad season, and I think, City, okay, there's been a lot of changes, but across this era at Man City, they did retain the league under Pep eventually, but every second year they would almost throw in a season like this. This is what would happen, and they sort of need to regenerate again. But I don't know, there's still periods where you watch them click and you're thinking, they're sensational. De Bruyne is still the best midfielder in the Premier League, in my opinion, anyway. So
he hit a shot in the first half today that was within
he's outrageous. So
being one
they
of
don't
the
need
best
dramatic like they need to certainly freshen up the age profile, and they don't necessarily have like they have. I know they have Foden, but they don't necessarily have this. There's question marks about maybe in 2-3 years' time, you're not looking, well, they're going to be an outstanding player. They have these players coming through. So they need to obviously do a certain type of recruitment to improve, but I still think they've got some pretty good players. I think they'll be okay, rather than like writing it off as a dramatic collapse of any description.
A player who didn't make the Premier League, he decided to go to Dortmund, is Erling Haaland, Alfie Inga's son, and he scored a hat-trick today. Came on as a sub in the 56th minute, scored a hat-trick against Augsburg.
He looks a prospect.
And they won 5-3, Dortmund did.
5-3.
He came on against Liverpool in the game in Anfield.
Red Bull.
When he was with Red Bull, and you can tell he's quite unfurnished, but he's a lot better than his dad anyway, put it that way.
We got a goal at St Mary's, Southampton against Wolves. This is Alan Lewis.
Southampton 2, Wolves 2, and Wolves have come back from 2 goals down to get back on level terms. Raul Jimenez with the penalty awarded after Jack Stevens had brought down Johnny in the box. It went to VAR. Quite why it took so long, I'm not sure. It's the most clear-cut penalty that I've seen all season. Jimenez, cool, calm and collected, slotted the ball past Alex McCarthy, and Southampton 2, Wolves 2.
And it's Manchester City trailing Crystal Palace by 1-0. Arsenal 1-0 up on Sheffield United. Brighton 1-0 up on Aston Villa, who are really struggling at the moment. Norwich City, the basement club, 1-0 up against Bournemouth. Southampton, as we heard there, 2-2 with Wolves. Goalless between Watford and Spurs earlier on. West Ham 1, Everton 1 in the Moyes derby. Newcastle United, Chelsea is a 5:30 kick-off in the Championship. Full-time earlier, really disappointing result for Leeds. 1-0 defeat away to QPR. It's Birmingham City 1, Cardiff City 0 on the hour mark. Bristol City 0, Barnsley 0, Derby County 0, Hull City 0, Huddersfield Town 0, Brentford 0, Millwall 0, Reading 0, Preston 2, Charlton 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Blackburn Rovers 4, and Swansea City 1, Wigan Athletic 1. Some text in here on 53106. Liverpool United, of course, are dominating the discourse today. I was trying to think of great United games over the last decade. Struggled to name much, bar the one where Berbatov scored a hat-trick. That's from Noel. That was in 2010. And hey lads, great memories of Liverpool's 3-1 win versus Man United in 2001. Photo of John Arne Riise, thunder free kick goal against Fabian Barthez, spread on pages 2 and 3 of the Cop magazine, with myself and my 2 brothers jumping out of our seats in the background. Lost the bloody magazine! Any of you boys got journalistic friends in the old Cop paper mag? Would love a digital copy of that photo. That's from Feecraig.
Yeah,
I'd say get on to social media and the Liverpool, the local Liverpool.
I'd say the old Cop itself is amazing, but the game that obviously springs to mind for me would be the 3-3 draw in '94 when Liverpool were 3-0 down and came back to draw 3-3. That it's funny actually when we're talking about heading, because Neil Ruddock headed the equaliser and was in an absolute daze afterwards. I don't know whether it was he did he clash heads or something.
I was sort of having read all that over the last few days, going, you know what? Maybe.
So we heard
the ghost of Nathan.
Nathan just can't let go. He just playing his voice into the
ghost of Nathan Murphy has appeared.
That was a very rude interruption, actually.
Nathan just wants to be a part of this.
But what a game that was, and it's funny when you watch back. So Liverpool, when Souness took over, and obviously he made a lot of changes. They took a long time to recover from the effects of Graham Souness at Liverpool, and I think Liverpool.
Was it his fault though?
It was. He signed badly. Admittedly, some of maybe the key players when Souness took over were sort of maybe slightly beyond their best. But you watch back that game, they were an absolute shambles defensively. They were so bad. Man United walked through them. And
can you remember the goals?
Nigel Clough.
I was going to ask him.
I was going to test him and see.
Sorry, I've ruined your Saturday.
The goal outside the box was
Dennis Irwin's free kick.
Dennis Irwin's free kick was absolutely brilliant.
2 goals. Yeah.
But Giggs scored as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
It took Liverpool a long time to recover. When you think of the heights that they had in the late 80s, they were miles off it then for years, and Souness really knocked back the club a long way.
Remember some great games where we had Cantona 1996 Cup final.
That was a dreadful game.
Horrible game.
Dreadful game.
But just the Barry Davis commentary.
The goal itself was amazing.
The Spice Boys, the white suits.
If ever there's a lesson that it's how a great goal can illuminate a game, the memory of a game. The game itself was horrendous.
I genuinely think that was possibly the most depressed I've ever been after a sporting event. It was probably at the peak of my Liverpool.
And you've been watching Galway United for a long time, son.
Yeah.
I was pretty depressed when we lost Blackboard Jungle at my school.
Wow.
You lost? How did you get to the final?
No, I got 6 out of 6 in sport, but we just made a mess of it in the buzzer round, and I was very depressed after that.
Yeah.
Did you blame someone else in the team?
No,
I sense there's a bit of inter-team tension here, John. To be honest.
Well, I was only 17, and I've never really been a blamer, but I was pretty good at about that.
You were a Coast FM DJ at that stage.
Yeah, I was actually.
Blackboard Jungle.
Yeah,
That was Ray Darcy, was it?
It was, and then I ended up working with him.
Because because I had a friend who was on Blackboard Jungle and he wasn't particularly happy with Ray Darcy for some reason that he didn't give him the right answer to a question or something. And years later, he was working at a cafe and Ray Darcy came up and asked him for like a cappuccino or something. He just said, no, we don't have any. And he's like, well, you don't have a cappuccino? So he really, really held a grudge from his Blackboard Jungle days.
Do you remember there was a show called, it was a Gridlock or something after it, was it? Blackboard Jungle was the early one.
Damien seems to want to come in on this one.
Damien, do you know what Blackboard Jungle is?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember that growing up as a kid. Yeah, definitely. And what was the other one? School Around the Corner.
Oh yeah.
Jerry Ryan, the late great Jerry Ryan.
Tell you, we've covered all bases today.
Nirvana, the Ramones, School Around the Corner.
Oh yeah.
Blackboard Jungle.
Dom Conroy hasn't got a mention yet.
They can't give a penalty for this.
Still 1-0 to Palace away to Manchester City.
If they give a penalty for this, it's
basically it's an attempted clearance. The ball's come up off the Crystal Palace player's hand,
off his foot initially, and then his hand. City putting on a bit of pressure without really probing.
I would have thought under the rules they don't give a penalty.
I don't think he gives a penalty because his hand was like just out, but he was actually trying to. He kicked the ball onto his hand.
If it's an attacker, it's not given. Sorry, if it's an attacker, the attacker is punished. Whereas if the hand is in the natural position, I don't know. I don't know if you're watching this, Damo, if you have a view as what you think.
I think it'll be given when you look at some of the handball decisions. It's wrong, but to the letter of the law, it is a penalty. The ball's hit his hand in the box. So I think I'd be devastated if he gave this. To be honest,
I thought the defenders meant to get more leeway. No penalty. Yeah. No penalty. I think if it was a striker, they wouldn't get away. They wouldn't get away with that. But yeah, Redevaled it was.
It's interesting to see there are some fans with anti-VAR slogans on them today, just to express their grievance with how technology has ruined the game.
53106 for your texts. Just before we take a break, I see Pepe Reina had to do his initiation at Villa this week in front of his new teammates. What was Damien's at Palace? We'll ask Damien. We'll get that during the break. That's from Karen in Waterford. I've been a Spurs fan since 1967, the year they won the Cup. But I'll ask no more with the appointment of Mourinho. An absolute menace and giant egotistical. Yeah, okay. Shane Long's on fire, surely been watching Mick McCarthy. Bring him back from the cold. That's from Ollie and Athai. And Daniel Brown on YouTube. Lads, get your money on Galway United winning the first division.
I couldn't agree more. We Galway United had a 3-3 draw with Sligo today, but
you know Daniel?
Alan Murphy, probably. But Alan Murphy has developed a very good squad
Johnny's
there.
Alter ego for his betting accounts.
If you want a long-term bet, I think there's 13-2 with Paddy Power. That's well worth a bet.
Off the Ball Football Saturday on News Talk. Back after this.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
On this week's show, I sit down with Dell's VP of Advanced Designs to get hands-on with their new devices and hear how everything from the size of the screen to the placement of the logo is deeply discussed before a product is launched. Plus, I have even more from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas with thanks to Vodafone Gigabit Broadband.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now or tune in this evening at 5.
On News Talk.
Relaxing afternoons with Harvey Norman. Lose the day curled up on your brand new sofa. With our huge range of fabrics and styles, Harvey Norman will have your ideal sofa today.
Go, Harvey, go!
I'm looking for an SUV with more room.
Take comfort in class-leading space and versatility.
Lower running costs too.
Take comfort in great fuel economy and low road tax.
And I want it to stand out.
Take comfort in the SUV like no other. The new Citroën C5 Aircross. Starting from just €26,495. Test drive the Citroën C5 Aircross at your nearest Citroën dealer or find out more at citroen.ie. Citroën. Price excludes delivery and related charges.
Thinking of a new car for the new year? On Done Deal, it's never been easier, with Ireland's widest selection of cars from trusted dealerships. Whether it's warranties or monthly finance, we have every option available for you. Thinking of changing your car? Think Done Deal, Ireland's largest car showroom in the palm of your hand.
Blocked nose, sore throat, headache. The symptoms of a cold or flu can really knock the stuffing out of you. So it's good to know that Nurofen Cold and Flu has the power to relieve those aches and pains for up to 8 hours. Nurofen Cold and Flu contains an anti-inflammatory and a decongestant, which should help you bounce back. Nurofen Cold and Flu, for effective relief of cold and flu symptoms. Nurofen Cold and Flu film-coated tablets contain ibuprofen and pseudoephedrine hydrochloride. Always read the label. 8-hour relief refers to ibuprofen.
Are you fed up with diets that only give you short-term results? Do you want to lose weight and keep it off for good? Is it time for a different approach to losing weight? Motivation Weight Management Clinic's scientific approach will help you to change your whole relationship with food so you can lose weight and maintain it for life. See motivation.ie to book your private one-to-one consultation. Motivation. It's not just what you eat, it's why.
The Aer Lingus January sale ends Tuesday. With up to 30% off flights to Europe, you have all the sunspiration you need to escape the winter chills. So whether you want to be at the beach, by the pool, in the city, chilling out or diving in, with so much choice, the only tricky question is where to. Brighten up your day and book now. Smart bags a bargain in the January sale. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at aerlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
The election campaign has been dominated by two shocking moments: the gangland murder of a child and the life-changing injuries suffered by a homeless man living in a tent. Our top team of writers spell out the consequences for our politicians and for our society. In Living, John McColgan and Moya Doherty talk about love and marriage, Michael Flatley, RTE and cancer. And in Life, Dr. Eva Orsmond takes issue with body positivity and offers healthy living advice for every stage of life. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
If you're going to play that playlist, shouldn't you hear it with the best sound possible? And if you're going to be on the go, shouldn't your phone keep up with you? The Seat Ibiza, available with Beats Audio and wireless phone charger, with 0% PCP finance across the entire Ibiza range, guaranteeing the minimum future value of your Ibiza and a €1,000 online discount voucher. Simple, smart, Seat. Start moving to your local authorised Seat retailer to find your new Ibiza. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Bank GmbH Branch Ireland is authorised by the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority in Germany and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. Visit seat.ie/201 to find out more. Terms and conditions apply.
Competition in business. It's a good thing. It drives improvement, increases standards. We should know. The race never stops, so neither can you. That next big move, the most creative idea, to stand out from the crowd. Sharper, quicker, smarter. No pressure. Preparation is key. The right people together, the right conditions, the right tools. You need space to breathe, space to think, no distractions. We'll create the setting. Now you can go to work. Brighter business at Castleknock Hotel.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
And welcome back to the Football Show on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through till 5 o'clock in the company of Damien, Delaney, Daniel McDonnell, Johnny Ward. 53106 for your texts. How do you see Liverpool against Manchester United going tomorrow, 4:30, the game live on News Talk with Nathan Murphy and David Myler. Football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. We're entering the kind of closing stages of the Premier League games. We've had a goal as well down at the Amex. Brighton against Aston Villa with Richard Newman.
Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Aston Villa 1. Jack Grealish has equalised for the visitors, and Brighton have been punished for some sloppy play in the last 10 minutes or so. It all came after Aaron Moy gave the ball away. Villa broke quickly, crossed through to Jack Grealish. Right back Martin Montoya, on as a substitute for Brighton, was caught out, and Grealish took the ball down onto his left foot and smashed the ball past Matt Ryan into the net. And it's Brighton 1, Aston Villa 1.
It's Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 0, Brighton and Hove Albion, as you heard, 1, Aston Villa 1, Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 1. More of a coronation for Liverpool today. It's Norwich 1, Bournemouth 0, Southampton 2, Wolves 3, and West Ham 1, Everton 1. We got a text in there before the break, Damien, about initiations. You just sing a song, I believe.
Yeah, everyone just has to sing a song at dinner time, really. Just usually the first away game on a Friday night. You stand up in a chair and sing a song.
What was it? The Ramones?
No, it wasn't actually. It was the song with the Top Gun.
Berlin, Take My Breath Away. No, surely not. Have you done the usual one?
Never close your eyes anymore.
Keep going.
You've lost that love and feeling.
Yeah.
That's the one, sorry.
The Righteous Brothers, was it?
Yeah, that's an interesting choice. Yeah,
It's an interesting choice,
More of
Damien.
a wedding song, really, isn't it?
yeah, it's more. Do you remember any players getting particularly stuck into it, Damo? Like, or did anyone come up?
Yeah, loads of fellas come up with some absolute belters, but it's the fellas that like sing rap songs and stuff, and they do a rap in front of the. It just gets awkward because you're like, oh my god, this is terrible.
Like David Brent or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was referencing. I don't know if you saw the Crazy Gang, the documentary on Wimbledon, Damien, but the initiations they had there, like the players would be in absolute bits after it. Like it was quite remarkable. I'd say for a young player, it could be quite intimidating at a particular club.
Because culture changed, though, Damien. I'd say it seems like a fun thing now.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. You know, the stuff where you're putting fish guts in somebody's car and Vaseline up their windscreen. All that type of stuff now is absolutely gone out of the game. Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, there was one in Manchester United, I think, where they used to put the young players in a tumble dryer. That was a thing that was a big thing at the Cliff in the early 90s, which is obviously was a more industrial sized tumble dryer for like all the gear or stuff like that. So they put someone into it. Sorry about Russell Beardsmore or someone getting put into it for 30 seconds, I mean, that's pretty, that is a pretty intense initiation, to be fair.
We were also talking as well before the break, Damien, about like the most depressed you've ever been after. Like, is there any game that stood out when you were just utterly in the floor?
Yeah, I remember once when I was at Palace, we played Liverpool at home and we were winning 1-0 and I ended up giving away a penalty in injury time to lose 2-1. Actually, it was Christian Benteke dived for it and it was Stonewall wasn't a penalty, but you ended up, we played so well that day as well. I think it was like 91st or 92nd minute and he dived for the penalty and the referee gave it, and actually a couple of weeks later it was the linesman gave it, actually, I'm sorry, and a couple of weeks later we had the linesman as well, and he actually apologised to me, said, geez, I got that one wrong, which was nice of him.
Fair play to him.
It didn't really help me, to be honest with you, because I was crestfallen after that game, absolutely devastated I was.
Did you ever bring it up with Benteke then when he came to Palace?
No.
He's got a couple of mentions today, Benteke, it must be said. I sense you were very close, were you?
I'm not one to hold grudges or anything like that.
No one from Cork does that. No,
truly not.
No.
It's now 1-1 between Manchester City and Crystal Palace. Sergio Agüero, the man, 178 goals now for City in the Premier League, making him the league's highest scoring foreign import ever, passing Thierry Henry. Now, who's the better, Henry or Agüero? Nathan Murphy and John Malloy thrashed it out during the week.
I was sort of having read all that over the last few days going, you know what? Maybe he is better than Henry. But then I was at home this morning and there was a Thierry Henry Sky Sports century of goals. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Henry is just at a different level.
He could do more. And there is, flamboyance counts for something, and general all-round technical ability counts for something. And like the type of goals Henry could score ranged from, not as much clearly of a fox in the box as Agüero, but he could score in the box, no problem. But equally, the one against Spurs at Highbury where he runs from his own half and just scorches everything left behind him.
Similar goal against Liverpool.
Yeah, Inter Milan away, scored an amazing goal as well. He could just do some miraculous things, and he does tend to pop up. This is actually a bit harsh in Agüero. I was going to say with some more memorably spectacular goals, like the one where he flicked it up and turned and hit it over Dennis Irwin's head. Dennis looking helplessly. Dennis, about the most accomplished defender this country's ever
expected everything that was ever thrown at him except this.
Even him gaping as, oh my God, what have you done here? The whole stadium was like still for a moment until they realised what Henry had done. Agüero doesn't have as many of those, and so for all those reasons, I would still put Henry ahead of him. Although interestingly, Pat Nevin earlier on said, yeah, look, Henry phenomenal, and maybe in some ways better player, but Agüero's ahead of him now. Comes down to goals. It's that simple. I'm still leaning towards Henry.
It's not, and I think one of the reasons is there's been a lot of statistics actually about Liverpool this weekend and their dominance, and no team in the history of the top 5 leagues has ever had a better start to the season. Yet all the best starts to seasons have come in the last sort of 7-8 years.
I have it here.
Whereas I think Henry was playing at a time when it was probably a little bit tougher. Even though I think the standard in the Premier League has never been better, I do think that actually Manchester City racked up big scores on far more often than Arsenal ever did.
Yeah. It's Liverpool this year. City in 27-18 had 59 points as opposed to Liverpool 61. Chelsea 05-06 are third. And then, to be fair, you're going back to Spurs in 60, 61 and Preston in 18, 88, 89. God.
But that's the Premier League. When you look around Europe in recent times, it's almost all in the last 7, 8 years with what Paris Saint-Germain have done and things like that. But Henry, the other thing was, Henry was a show-off. Like, just a brilliant show-off. All these reverse passes and no-look passes. And like I'd say, the amount of players who wanted to kick the living daylights out of him. There was 3 separate clips that they showed where he's just soloing the ball across field. And there's 4 or 5 solos. You don't do that.
You don't. They showed the goal where he's in the box. I think it might be against Charlton, and he's at an acute angle and just backheels the ball into the far corner. Aguero doesn't quite have that level of flamboyance in him.
No, he just...
I'm talking down Sergio Aguero here. He's brilliant.
No, he's not.
He's brilliant.
But Sergio Aguero is, I score goals.
Correct.
He's not overly thinking about how they look.
Yeah.
Whereas Henry always wanted to look beautiful.
And often did. Generally did. Well, he's going to catch Andrew Cole, who's 10 goals ahead of him. Cole's played 455 odd games to get to 187. Aguero's at like 255 odd games to get to 177. So, I mean, his ratio in that sense is incredible.
It is 178 for Sergio Aguero. Manchester City won, Crystal Palace won. He has equalised at the Etihad Stadium. We've also had a goal at the Emirates. Arsenal against Sheffield United. Andrew Cheal.
Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 1. Fleck, the equaliser for Sheffield United, with a left foot shot hammered into the ground. It bounced up and unkindly for the goalkeeper, really, but it was a really fiercely struck shot. Arsenal had a chance to head the ball clear from Robinson's cross, failed to do so adequately, and there was Fleck with his left foot to ram in the equaliser. Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 1.
Sheffield United obviously will be key to this. Just a tweet from Irish Abroad. 9 Irish players starting in the Premier League today, which is the highest figure in nearly 3 years. Sheffield United with Egan and Stevens, Brighton with Connolly, Man City, Palace, James McCarthy, Kieran Clark for Newcastle, Shane Long, Matt Doherty, Darren Randolph and James Coleman.
2-1 to City.
Aguero again.
What a man.
City, see, they're still not dead, John. They're not dead yet.
Aguero's been...
It's amazing. It's a header this time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't come down really strongly one way or the other. It's a really difficult debate because they've played a very similar amount of matches as well.
Totally different players.
Aguero and Henry. You know, the sort of timelines. I was just checking that. You know, how many seasons, and Aguero, at this rate is going to get to 200.
That's a smashing header.
He's going to. Now I know that the whole Premier League metric is a bit flawed because actually Alan Shearer scored a lot of top flight goals in the old Division 1. So actually his all-time total is actually higher if you include top flight goals. But Aguero is going to get. I think he's going to scale to 200, and. Like, he has been pretty consistent. He survived across different managers as well. Is that an impressive thing? Whereas Henry was under Wenger the whole time, whereas Aguero was sort of switched a bit. So I don't know. Like, I think Aguero is a fair rival for him.
If you're talking about heading the ball, John, this is the most beautiful header of the ball you will see by Aguero. It's absolutely. I could watch that goal all day. The technique he used.
Damien, just before we let we go, Aguero or Henry?
Henry for me, he was just more of an entertainer. I know he scored the goals. Aguero is just a finisher and a fantastic finisher, and probably one of the best, if not the best finisher in the Premier League. But Henry's given us some great moments. Although Aguero did give probably the greatest Premier League moment of the last 30 years with that goal against QPR. So, if I was picking a team tomorrow, I'd pick Henry because he was just some of his performances. I remember when they played Inter at the San Siro in the Champions League. He was just unplayable that night, and he carried the Arsenal team kind of post-Vieira on his own. So for me, him.
Damien, I'm delighted to hear that you're a Ramones fan. I'm just going through the lyrics too. I'm against it. I don't like playing ping pong. I don't like the Viet Cong. I don't like Burger King. I don't like anything.
Yeah, it's not about the lyrics. So it's more the energy they give off. I always, if I'm in the gym on a treadmill, it'll always be the Ramones that I listen to. Judy is a punk rocker. That's me.
Damien, great talking to you. We'll speak to you soon on Off the Ball Saturday.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks.
Cheers now.
Brilliant stuff. We've got to take a break. 53106 for your texts.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Don't miss a thing. Update the News Talk app now in the App Store or Google Play Store.
At Lexus, we have always anticipated the future, relentlessly pushing the boundaries of beautiful design and innovative technology, so you're ready for what's ahead. Introducing the new Lexus ES. Our executive saloon combines powerful, self-charging hybrid technology with an exceptional driving experience and the luxury that you expect from a Lexus. Test drive the new ES at your Lexus retailer and choose from a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Sale, sale, and still more sale. Bargain Town's biggest ever sale continues with fantastic bargains in every department. The Bargain Town sale continues.
Get health insurance from as little as €10.27 a week. Because we all need a healthy mind as well as a healthy body to embrace life's changes. Search Select Starter to find out more. We know Irish Life. We are Irish Life Health. Prices for one adult with no lifetime community rating loading. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes, but for you and the community. For families, check out our kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. For adults, why not join our newly refurbished gym with a 50-metre swimming pool, or book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, sports pitches and courts. And for companies, check out our team building days, conference facilities and events. All this and more at sportirelandcampus.ie.
O'Mara Camping.
It's a disaster.
What seems to be the problem, sir?
I'm putting up the tent and I can't find the poles.
There are no poles.
What kind of tent do you call this?
The O'Mara Camping range of Campa air tents and awnings.
No poles?
Just air-filled supports.
Is that why it's so light and portable?
Air isn't very heavy, sir.
So it's not a disaster?
Not even a problem.
Thanks, O'Mara Camping.
Enjoy your camping trip, sir. Tents for events. That'll be omaracamping.com.
What could be more magical than a relaxing winter break with your loved ones in the 5-star luxury surroundings of Dromoland Castle, County Clare? Voted one of the top 10 resorts in the world by Condé Nast readers, our Castle Awaits package includes bed and breakfast plus one dinner for 2 nights in a Queen Anne classic room from just €295 per person sharing. Your Castle Awaits. Book your winter break now at dromoland.ie.
The election campaign has been dominated by 2 shocking moments: the gangland murder of a child and the life-changing injuries suffered by a homeless man living in a tent. Our top team of writers spell out the consequences for our politicians and for our society. In Living, John McColgan and Moya Doherty talk about love and marriage, Michael Flatley, RTE and cancer. And in Life, Dr. Eva Orsmond takes issue with body positivity and offers healthy living advice for every stage of life. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
Love every step, especially the little ones. Like that Friday evening feeling when you kick off your shoes, feel the cosy carpet under your feet and know the weekend is in front of you.
When I see the pup excitedly slipping across the hardwood floor, welcoming me as I come through the front door.
Every Saturday morning, when I hear the girls' giggles as they're sprawled on the living room carpet watching TV. TC Matthews, love every step. Winter sale now on, with free underlay on selected carpets. T's and C's apply. Visit one of our 11 showrooms today.
Introducing the Bosch cordless vacuum range for all floor types. Our premium model includes a quick charger and 2 exchangeable battery packs to ensure that you never run out of power. For more information and a full demonstration, call to Power City today.
Critics are calling The Gentleman genius, hilarious, ridiculously entertaining.
I mean, I was there and I'm still shocked.
It'll blow the doors off, says the list. 5 stars. Richie and Grant both doing their funniest work in years. Can't recommend this one enough. Laugh a minute with a blinder of a cast.
Oh, goody.
Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Michelle Dockery, Henry Golding, with Colin Farrell and Hugh Grant.
When the lion's hungry, he eats.
The Gentleman, in cinemas now.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
It's the football show on Off the Ball here on News Talk. Remember, our football coverage brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. A late goal at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City against Crystal Palace. Darren Stanage.
Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2. Crystal Palace managing to find themselves an equalising goal. Zaha it was who raced down the left-hand side. His cross, though, went in off Fernandinho. And Man City concede. It's City 2, Palace 2.
Would you Adam and Eva, John?
Like, it's a classic soft-centre City. Though it is, though.
It was a bad goal to give away as well.
Yeah.
Apart from the occasional dive in the box, Agüero was no cheat, though. Stop giving Henry the time of day. Still haven't got over it.
Well, yeah.
Henry's behaviour that night was deplorable.
Well, you do mention the most sort of down you are after a match, and I still think I've been down way more times than the Henry Paris night. I mean, I did follow the Dock round for this season, but they didn't win
in
a game.
In the first division.
They got relegated. So that was pretty low, to be honest. That was a weekly feeling. They actually became the default setting to be down after a sporting event. But during the celebrations that night in the Stade de France, well, you're in the middle of like right on deadline and working on a story, but just the sense of the smugness of Henry afterwards.
Yeah. Sitting down with Richard Dunn was weird.
Yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah.
But even just the calls for the replay in the days after. When
I didn't handball the ball.
But he knew that calling. Everyone knew. Well, not everyone knew. I mean, we kept pushing away. He got a few quid out of it, I guess. But there was never going to be a replay. But Henry made a call for a replay, which is a bit like, you know, you've knocked someone over, you barged into them, and you sort of apologise, and you helped them up. But the damage is done at that point, and there was no sincerity, I felt, about his claim. So actually, yeah, do you know what, Agüero.
In fairness, but for Henry, the FAI would be like 75 million as opposed to 70 million in debt or whatever it is. So
Henry or Agüero, my backside, Shearer did it at 3 different clubs, consistently scoring every type of goal in an era when defenders were trying to break his legs.
But it's Agüero against Henry. It's not Agüero against Shearer.
Like Henry and Agüero were completely different players. Like Agüero is he's a fox in the box.
Agüero against Rooney.
In terms of,
well, Rooney's Rooney, I think, is second on the charts, isn't he? I think Rooney's high up the list. He's at 207 or something, or he's 200 and something. I think.
Robbie Keane, I was 5th on the list.
Wow.
126 appearances and 126 goals and 349 appearances.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Like, I mean, you'd be happy if the lads we're getting excited about now got to half that tally.
It just shows how important Robbie Keane was for Ireland and for Tottenham and for the other clubs he played with. We have a full time from the Emirates: Arsenal, Sheffield United, and Andrew Cheal.
Arsenal won, Sheffield United won. The Gunners were ahead in the first half added time. A simple far post tap in for Gabriel Martinelli from a really delightful looping cross, but the young fullback Saka, 2 18-year-olds involved in the goal. Arsenal had other chances before and after that, but they lacked decisiveness, or to put it another way, they missed Aubameyang. They paid the price 12 minutes from time when Fleck drove left-footed into the top corner for the equaliser. United thoroughly deserved their point. Arsenal can have no complaints. It finished Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 1.
How did the David Moyes derby finish? Everton away to Moyes' new club, West Ham, and that one is described by Joe Rawson.
Full time, West Ham United 1, Everton 1. David Moyes hasn't managed to get one over his Bournemouth side, and he'll look back at a number of missed opportunities in the first 45 for the reason his team hasn't taken maximum points. Both goals came from set pieces in the space of 4 first half minutes. The hosts breaking the deadlock after a Robert Snodgrass free kick was headed in by Issa Diop. A 9th goal of the season for Dominic Calvert-Lewin levelled the game for Everton as he headed in a corner that was flicked on by Mason Holgate. It was tit for tat in the second half, but neither side could find the winner. Spoils shared in the David Moyes derby. West Ham United 1, Everton 1.
Now, earlier on it finished Watford 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Newcastle played Chelsea at 5:30. Ulster leading in the Champions Cup against Bath by 19 points to 10. Look set booked now for a quarter-final place. That is Ulster. Right for the other full times to come in now. Also give you some championship scores. Leeds lost 1-0 away to QPR earlier on. It's finished Bristol City 1, Barnsley 0, Huddersfield Town 0, Brentford 0. It is finished Sheffield Wednesday 0, Blackburn Rovers 5.
Did Sheffield Wednesday not win at Leeds last weekend?
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday.
They won at Leeds, and today they lost 5-0.
Darragh Lenihan scored for Blackburn, but the championship promotion race, West Brom are pretty solid. But
Leeds could now be Leeds are entering into the 29th.
This is going to happen again.
2019.
Fulham are 4 points behind them now. Now the only thing is Fulham, Brentford, Swansea. The teams behind. There's no one that's been outstanding. You know that's getting that run together.
A huge chunk of teams around. Like even go back to 10th or 11th.
If you go on a run,
Millwall are now on the fringes of the promotion race, so it's going to be thrilling. Preston aren't far off it as well. So.
We're overdue a trip, Dan.
We are overdue.
See the Millwall lads, the 2 Irish midfielders.
Full-time Southampton Wolves and Alan Lewis.
It's finished Southampton 2, Wolves 3. A remarkable game of football. Southampton were 2-0 up at the break thanks to goals from Jan Bednarak and Shane Long's first of the season. But the game turned on its head in the second half. Neto volleyed home to make it 2-1. Jimenez then converted a penalty awarded by VAR, and then Jimenez again slotting the ball home after some good work by Traore completing the comeback. It could have been very different had Shane Long's header gone the other side of the post with the score at 2-0. End-to-end stuff. A great game. It's finished Southampton 2, Wolves 3.
And we got a full time from Carr Road and Norwich against Bournemouth. Mike Lawrence.
Norwich City 1, Bournemouth 0. Norwich were handed a valuable first half lead, quite literally after a bizarre handball by Bournemouth defender Steve Cook, blocking Andre Duda's goal-bound effort inside the area. Timu Pukki converted the spot kick, but Norwich struggled to make the man advantage count, and the sides were levelled up when Bade Godfrey was red-carded for a foul on Callum Wilson after a VAR check midway through the second half. It was end-to-end at the finish, but Norwich take the 3 points. Bournemouth are in desperate trouble. Norwich 1, Bournemouth 0.
Now back to the Premier League. Brighton and Aston Villa, that is a 1-1. That is finished at the Amex, and it's finished as well at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2. So Liverpool just, sitting pretty at the top of the Premier League. Depressing moments. I think Perry Grove scoring for Arsenal against Spurs left me in tears. That was back in the late 80s. Also Arsenal beating Spurs in the 1993 FA Cup semi-final. That was pretty depressing. I think Tony Adams might have scored the winner in that one.
Gaza injured? No, Gaza was the 91 final against Forest.
Yeah. We've got a full-time in from Brighton and Villa from Richard Newman.
Full-time, Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Aston Villa 1. Jack Grealish salvaging a point for Villa, his equaliser 15 minutes from time, punishing some sloppy play from Brighton, who didn't make the most of their first half dominance. They had several chances in that half, but only took one of them. Leandro Trossard firing into the bottom corner. Villa improved after the break as Brighton became more careless in possession and were caught out in a quick counter-attack, which led to Grealish firing in. And former Liverpool keeper Pepe Reina, on his Villa debut, made a brilliant diving save late on from Neil Maupay to keep the scores level, and Maupay, who lost his cool near the end and was coming together between both sets of players after the final whistle. Lewis Dunk had to haul Maupay down the tunnel at the end. Not a result which does these struggling sides much good. It's finished Brighton 1, Aston Villa 1.
And Manchester City have drawn 2-2 with Crystal Palace. Lads, thanks for today, really enjoyed it.
Thank you, John. We've learned a lot about you. Nirvana,
yeah.
Coast FM.
Kind of want to go back to those days of teenage angst.
Yeah, well, don't forget that Off the Ball is back tomorrow from 1 o'clock. I'll be off for the teenage angst because Joe Moyle will be in the chair. He'll be joined by Sarah O'Donovan and Kieran Cunningham for the paper review, and you really want to be listening because we've got 2 live and exclusive commentary games to bring you. In rugby at Thomond Park for Munster's match against Ospreys in that European Champions Cup, and then off to Anfield for the Premier League showdown. Red Sunday, leaders Liverpool taking on Manchester United. Nathan Murphy and David Myler describing that one. Also have a coverage of the club finals. So Off the Ball 1 to 7 tomorrow. Thanks for listening today. Join us next Saturday. Bye bye.